Chapter 1872. Ling Zhao's black wind cultivation broke through rapidly due to the 12 black wind inscriptions, rising from the 6th level of the sky realm to the 3rd level of the grotto heaven realm. This punch had killed many people, and all of them were martial artists of the Sky Sea Empire. Ling Zhao's eyes showed no sympathy. These people had stayed here to kill him. If he was weaker, he would have been a corpse by now. Damned Ling Zhao! Above Blackwind Canyon, Prince Wu was furious. He clearly represents the Sky Sea Empire, but he only kills martial artists of the Sky Sea Empire. This is unreasonable. Seeing this scene, Prince Yun's heart trembled. He once had the thought of betraying Ling Zhao, but at this moment, this thought instantly vanished into thin air. What kind of joke was this? This person's tyranny was not inferior to tyranny of the heavenly seas. Sacred sword of the wind devil, do you think you can escape? Ling Zhao took a step forward, turned into a black wind, and pounced on the escaping sacred sword of the wind devil. Although his speed was not at its peak, it was still much faster than sacred sword of the wind devil. It was only 2 or 3 steps, but it covered a distance of several miles, instantly blocking sacred sword of the wind devil's path. Let me go, and I will never be your enemy again. Sacred sword of the wind devil looked at Ling Zhao and made a very shameful request. I can even be your slave and agree to all your conditions. You dare to betray tyranny of the heavenly seas? Ling Zhao looked coldly at sacred sword of the wind devil and said indifferently, I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. You were destined to die at my hands from the moment we were on the airship. His voice was filled with determination and ruthlessness, not planning to give Sacred Sword of the Wind Devil any chance. Sacred Sword of the Wind Devil was in despair. He should have known that Ling Zhao would not let him go. Tyranny of the heavenly seas protected him before, so he did not have to die. But now, tyranny of the heavenly seas and the crown princess were not by his side. What could he use to fight Ling Zhao? I don't want to die. Sacred Sword of the Wind Devil held the sacred sword in his hand and exploded with the most brilliant attack of his life. The entire world instantly turned white. The light of the sacred sword enveloped the entire space. In the air, there was a holy aura being generated continuously. Kill! A voice filled with anger rang out from within the holy aura. Then, the holy aura instantly turned into a shocking killing intent that pierced towards Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao stood there, motionless. He coldly looked at the shocking sword of a sacred sword of wind demon. If you don't provoke me, you might have a place in the White Tiger continent in the future. But now, you will forever fall into the darkness of the underworld. Firmament's fist, kill! As the sword light approached, Ling Zhao's right hand slowly blasted out. The terrifying green light condensed into a huge fist and tore apart the terrifying sword light, destroying the final glory of the sacred wind devil sword. Who would have thought that I wouldn't be able to harm a single hair on your head even when I'm about to die? The sacred sword of Wind Fiend could feel his life force slipping away rapidly. His fate was coming to an end at this moment. Before he died, what he couldn't accept the most was that he didn't manage to injure Ling Zhao. How could he kill him? Boom! A terrifying explosion finally rang out as the body of the sacred sword of Wind Demon exploded in the void. In an instant, 5 inscriptions of the black wind entered Ling Zhao's body at the same time. Ling Zhao's cultivation once again broke through to the 10th grotto heaven realm, and the number of inscriptions of the black wind that he could use in his body had reached 21. Damn it! Above the Black Wind Canyon, the powerhouse of the Tianhai Sacred Academy let out a tragic roar. Previously, because of the demonic liquor sword's attack, he suppressed his anger towards Ling Zhao. But at this moment, he finally couldn't control his emotions anymore. The Tianhai Sacred Academy was completely annihilated. The 4 beasts were dead, and so was the sacred sword of Wind Demon. Such a tragic blow was simply a disaster for them. The most powerful sect of the Tianhai Empire couldn't even get a single person into the top 10 of the White Tiger meet. This meant that the Tianhai Sacred Academy was doomed to decline. The next time would be 10 years later. Ling Xiao, the Tianhai Sacred Academy will kill you. Even if we fall into the abyss of hell, we will swallow you alive. This voice was so mournful that it made one's scalp tingle. It was simply a cry of blood. Old Master, do you think he will succeed? The demonic liquor sword asked with a smile. No, not in the past, not now, and not in the future. Hong Qi shook his head. When Ling Xiao was weak, the Tianhai Sacred Academy couldn't kill him. Now that Ling Xiao's strength was increasing step by step with the help of the White Tiger meat, would the Tianhai Sacred Academy really have a way to kill him? What a coincidence, I think so too. The demonic liquor sword's trust in Ling Xiao had reached its peak at this time. Others didn't know who caused the greenish-yellow light, but he firmly believed that it was Ling Xiao's good deed, because he had once felt the same aura from Ling Xiao. What do you think he got in the Black Wind Canyon? Hong Qi suddenly asked. I don't know, maybe it's just the inheritance of some ancient almighty. But this thing is definitely beyond the Black Tortoise Sacred Palace's expectations. The demonic liquor sword answered. His guess was simply too accurate. What Ling Xiao obtained in the underground palace was the inheritance memories of the two great gods, Imperial Heaven and Empress Tuesday. It wasn't any cultivation technique, but the battle memories of Imperial Heaven and Empress Tuesday. Only martial artists with extremely high perception would be able to comprehend their own cultivation methods and martial arts from these memories. Moreover, 1,000 cultivators could comprehend 1,000 different martial arts. For example, the profound world body was one of them. Without the profound world body as a foundation, Ling Xiao's comprehension would be limited no matter how high his comprehension was. But with this foundation, it was equivalent to standing on the shoulders of giants. He had a deeper understanding of this inheritance, and then matched it with his own path of martial arts. He comprehended a profound world body that solely belonged to him. Although the name was the same as the previous profound world body, the cultivation method was more complete and more suitable for him. Together with the Sky Tyrant martial soul, it gave the profound world body a new direction of development. Perhaps one day in the future, the profound world body could truly advance to the Sky Tyrant body. That would be the true meaning of power. Of course, even now, he could easily block the attack of a 14th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist with just the profound world body. He could completely remain unharmed. If he unleashed the power of all the Imperial Heaven and Empress Two cells, even a 15th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist would not be able to hurt him easily. Moreover, he could easily hurt his opponent with a punch. Of course, that was not all. Ling Xiao's brand new profound world body comprehended the great inheritance of Imperial Heaven and Empress Tuesday. He comprehended the 13 transformations. They happened to be the incarnations of the 13 continents in the profound world. However, due to the restrictions of the territory, he could only use the heavenly dragon incarnation and the divine phoenix incarnation. These were all powers that belonged to Imperial Heaven and Empress Tuesday. The ultimate transformation of these incarnations was when Ling Xiao fought with the Black Shadow in the Sky Tyrant universe. Chapter 1873. The ultimate transformation of the mystic world body was to wield a gigantic sword in his left hand and the staff of the earth in his right hand. He would be covered in light and shadow armor and would have the support of the Royal Heaven Earth Queen. He had not reached that level yet. He could only use the power of the Royal Heaven Earth Queen to execute the firmament fist and shield of the earth. Once Ling Xiao entered the clone, his mystic world body would be strengthened even further. He would not even need to use his inner strength to kill a 16th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist. He would only need to use the power of the Royal Heaven Earth Queen to kill them. It could be said that although Ling Xiao's cultivation did not seem to have increased, his combat strength had made a shocking leap. Those who underestimated him would definitely suffer a great loss. However, this was not enough to satisfy Ling Xiao. This was because he still had 21 Black Wind inscriptions that he could use. He wanted to unseal the last 2 moves of the Red Sun sword technique and then look around to see if there were any other good things in this Black Wind Canyon that he could use to cultivate. After all, skills were not a burden. Even if he did not need to use them immediately, they would still be effective in the future. He had so many enemies. If he encountered an opponent who could restrain him, he would not be helpless. Xiaocong, go find your own opportunities first. The purgatory blood battle is not over yet. Don't waste time. I will find a safe place to unlock the sword technique. The place Ling Xiao was thinking of was the Sword Immortal Tomb. The Scarlet Sun sword technique was comprehended from the Sword Immortal Tomb. Then, there must be something in the Sword Immortal Tomb that was not inferior to the Royal Heaven Earth Queen's inheritance memories. Perhaps he might even obtain some incredible treasures. Okay. Zhu Xiaocong nodded. Now that his injuries had healed and his cultivation had increased greatly, his survivability was much stronger than before. As long as he was careful and did not encounter any strong opponents, it should not be a problem for him to survive. After seeing Zhu Xiaocong leave, Ling Xiao also headed towards the Sword Immortal Tomb. The martial artists outside had more or less killed some ferocious beasts because of the greenish-yellow light. This caused the cultivation of most of the martial artists to be closer to the state they were in when they entered Black Wind Canyon. The equilibrium caused by the Black Wind was beginning to be broken. They seemed to be in danger. Before arriving at the Sword Immortal Tomb, Ling Xiao saw Ji Luoyu, Feng Minglian Mou, and Dan Feng in trouble with his Taiji. There's no rush to go to the Sword Immortal Mound. Let's deal with these people first. He would risk his life for his friend. Only friends would die for you. This was something that Ling Xiao had always believed in. Ever since he stepped into the world of martial artists, he had always done so. Moreover, he had also received the help of countless friends, Ling Yihang and Ling Wuhen of Tianfeng City's Ling family, as well as Ling Yixue, whom he still could not forget, Cold Plum, Dai Yuling, and that General Lin Zhe, whom they met in Sky Cloud City, the Moon Lady, Lan Yu, Wu Xian, Yuan Venerate, and the others that he had met at Yuehua School. He had befriended Haim, Miang Ko, and Princess Yunya in the Holy City. The Wine Demon Sword, Dan Feng, Mou, Zhu Xiaocong, Ji Luoyu, Feng Minglian, Shangguanlei, and so on. It was said that Ling Xiao had many enemies. In fact, he had many friends as well, and every friend was exchanged with his blood and sincerity. The current him naturally would not forget his roots. Moreover, he felt that although 21 Black Wind inscriptions was not a small number, it was not a lot either. Excluding the 9 Black Wind inscriptions used to unlock the Red Sun sword art, there were only 12 left. If it was not enough, he would have to come out and look for more. How troublesome would that be? Therefore, it was better to have more of such things than less of them. Ha ha ha! Heavenly Dynasty Empire's trash. You don't deserve to survive this battle. A person holding a long sword looked coldly at Mou. His expression was cold and ruthless. Don't expect that Ling Xiao to come and save you. He has already been targeted by Heavenly Ocean Tyranny and Hundred-Eyed Demon Lord. There's no possibility of him surviving. Is that so? If you really think so, then I'll have to disappoint you. A voice suddenly came from afar. Then a black wind swept over, and Ling Xiao's figure appeared in front of Mo. You've worked hard, Brother Mo, Ling Xiao said with a smile. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Mo clenched his teeth and felt a little guilty. Then you'll have to help me solve more problems in the future. This white tiger continent will belong to me, Ling Xiao, sooner or later. I can't do without people like you guarding it for me. Ling Xiao smiled. My MOU's life is yours. MOU nodded solemnly. For him, before this, he only treated Ling Xiao as a friend. But after this, he looked at Ling Xiao with another identity. That was His Majesty the Heavenly Emperor. You talk too much nonsense. You think you can save him? The person holding the long sword suddenly shouted. The long sword in his hand trembled and a cold light flashed. The sword light instantly attacked Ling Xiao. There was absolutely no sign of this sword. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao while Ling Xiao was talking to MOU. Mysterious world body, sky dragon incarnation. Ling Xiao comprehended a new move. Naturally, he wanted to try it. This time, he didn't use the firmament fist. Instead, he transformed into the sky dragon and stood proudly in front of MOU. The terrifying lightning instantly dominated his surroundings. That pitiful swordsman didn't even touch Ling Xiao's clothes and was instantly blasted into pieces by the violent lightning. 22 black wind inscriptions. Brother Mo, recuperate well. I'll take my leave first. After dealing with that martial artist, Ling Xiao left a sentence and broke through the air. Feng Minglian and Ji Luoyu stayed together. Their situation was worse than MOU's. Although MOU encountered trouble, it was still a one-on-one battle. He might not really be in trouble. But Ji Luoyu and Feng Minglian were surrounded by many people. They couldn't even escape and could only fight to the death. After exhausting their strength, they would definitely die. However, the two didn't give up because of this. They were still fighting to the death. Even if they died, it was better than giving up. In the sky, a ball of lightning suddenly struck, and a sky dragon descended from the sky. Many people saw this sky dragon bathed in lightning. This guy actually has so many black wind inscriptions. Killing him is more worth it than killing those two women. Someone saw several dozen rainbow-colored lights flickering on Ling Xiao's body. That was the total number of black wind inscriptions Ling Xiao had. Anyone who saw such a number would be extremely excited. If they could obtain it, they would be like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Kill him. Don't worry about those two women. Someone angrily roared. Ling Xiao looked down at the ground, coldly looking at those tiny black dots on the ground. He didn't have the ability to kill all these people, but killing the chicken to warn the monkey and intimidate this group was definitely doable. The martial artist of the heavenly demon cult is you. Ling Xiao's gaze suddenly locked onto a martial artist of the heavenly demon cult. This person was participating in the White Tiger meet as a martial artist of the Tianhai Empire. No matter which identity it was, it made Ling Xiao very unhappy. Moreover, this person was the most cunning and cruel in the process of attacking Feng Minglian and Ji Luoyu. He left the most scars on the two women. If he didn't kill him, who would he kill? Chapter 1874. This fellow is too arrogant. He actually dares to casually control the heavenly dragon's body and look down on us. That's right. What an arrogant fellow. Everyone kill him. The heavenly demon cult martial practitioner did not notice that Ling Xiao's gaze was fixed on him. He was still inciting the other martial practitioners to attack Ling Xiao together. This was because he had never forgotten the heavenly demon cult's orders. If he saw Ling Xiao, he had to kill him. A cold smile appeared on Ling Xiao's face. This person had 2 black wind inscriptions, but his cultivation wasn't weak. It seemed like he was good at scheming. He probably killed many black wind beasts to raise his cultivation to the first level of the Yin-Yang realm. This was not easy. Kill! Ling Xiao shouted coldly in his heart. The heavenly dragon in the sky let out a loud roar and charged at the heavenly demon cult martial practitioner. It was getting closer to the end of the blood battle of purgatory. Although Ling Xiao still had plenty of time, he could not afford to waste it. Since he had decided on what he wanted to do, he would do it without hesitation. The heavenly demon cult martial practitioner saw the heavenly dragon fly down from the sky. He narrowed his eyes and tried to trick everyone into attacking together. Immediately, dozens of gusts of wind attacked Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao was not afraid at all. The dragon's roar resounded and thunder descended. All the attacks instantly dissipated. The heavenly demon cult martial practitioner had already taken the opportunity to leap into the sky. He stabbed a sharp dagger at the heavenly dragon's vitals. Die, idiot! It turned out that he had expected Ling Xiao's strength, so he used the other's strength to distract Ling Xiao. Then he used his specialty to launch a surprise attack. He wanted to take all of Ling Xiao's black wind inscriptions for himself. Everything that's yours is mine, including your woman. The heavenly demon cult martial practitioner revealed a sinister smile. He felt extremely carefree. What a laughable sneak attack. However, the moment he stabbed at Ling Xiao, he heard a clear and cold voice. His dagger was blocked by the huge dragon claw. The terrifying dragon claws covered his entire body, and then he was smashed to the ground. He was intimidated by this terrifying aura and wanted to escape, but he couldn't move. It was as if he was sucked in by the dragon claw. This aura simply made him unable to breathe. His entire body felt like it was about to be compressed into a large pancake. What a terrifying guy! How could he be so powerful? The heavenly demon cult martial artist circulated the power of the black wind in his body in an attempt to break free from the dragon claw. However, all of this was futile. His seemingly powerful black wind energy was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot in front of the gigantic dragon claw. Die! Ling Xiao's voice rang beside his ear, and the heavenly demon cult martial artist felt his organs and even his bones begin to disintegrate. The fear of death completely enveloped him. Pa! The heavenly demon cult martial artist's body finally crumbled. Blood splattered all over the ground before being incinerated by the terrifying lightning. 24 black wind inscriptions. Ling Xiao stood proudly in the void, with the heavenly dragon circling around him. Feng Minglian and Ji Luoyu saw that the heavenly dragon was actually him, and they both breathed a deep sigh of relief. And those martial artists who were still clamoring to attack Ling Xiao earlier also fled in all directions one after another. Ling Xiao did not give chase because he did not have so much time to waste now. You guys find a safe place to hide and recuperate first. I'll go help others. Ling Xiao greeted Ji Luoyu and Feng Minglian, then stepped into the air and left. He came in a hurry and left in a hurry. Feng Minglian and Ji Luoyu also quickly left, hiding in a safer place. In any case, it was already very close to the end of the purgatory blood battle. Even those 13 top geniuses did not have much time to come out and hunt other martial artists. They were probably comprehending their own opportunities. The probability of a crisis like just now happening again was not too high. The next person Ling Xiao was going to rescue was Dan Feng. This would also be the most dangerous battle before he left the purgatory blood battle, because the one launching a fierce attack on Dan Feng was none other than the 100-eyed demon Lord Wu long previously. The 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong was injured by Ling Xiao. However, because of the changes in the world and the changes in Blackwind Canyon, his cultivation had been greatly improved. Now he had almost recovered to 90% of his original level. He was confident that such strength was enough to kill Ling Xiao. It was just that Ling Xiao this guy hid too well, and he could not find him after searching for a long time. But he just had to run into Dan Feng. Originally, with his strength, it would not take long to kill Dan Feng, but he deliberately tortured Dan Feng to lure out Ling Xiao. But Ling Xiao really came. Ha ha ha, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you just have to barge in. Ling Xiao, you idiot, let's see how you're going to escape now. Seeing Ling Xiao rescue Dan Feng, the 100-eyed demon lord did not even blink. He only looked at Ling Xiao coldly. He really did not care about Dan Feng's life at all. He only cared about Ling Xiao, the guy who dared to injure him. His face was full of ridicule, and his eyes were filled with a terrifying, killing intent. Escape? Did I say I was going to escape? Ling Xiao looked at the 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong, indifferently and said sarcastically, "You couldn't beat me before, so you were saved by Zue Linglong. Who are you going to ask for help this time? Ha ha ha, you got lucky this time. Do you really think you can ride on my head and shit?" Although the 100-eyed demon lord laughed, it was a laugh of anger, a laugh of displeasure, and a laugh of killing intent. "Shit, I don't have that kind of interest. It's too uncivilized. I just want to kill you now, so that you won't be haunting me." Ling Xiao looked at Wulong coldly. Since they were already like fire and water, it was better to use the opportunity in Black Wind Canyon to eliminate this person first. Otherwise, he would definitely be a great enemy when he went out. "You want to kill me?" Wulong's killing intent became even more intense. "So what if I kill you? Can't you kill me?" Ling Xiao looked at Wulong with disdain and said indifferently, "You're a so-called top genius. You just started cultivating earlier than me and have more resources than me. Do you really think your talent and comprehension are higher than mine? In Black Wind Canyon, you'll never be my opponent. If you improve by 1 step, I'll be able to improve by 2 steps. Your defeat has been decided from the start. You have a sharp tongue. The rumors are true. Those who are hiding in the dark, listen up. For today's battle, watch carefully. Whoever runs away will be the #1 coward in the world." The 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong, roared loudly. Indeed, there were many martial artists hiding in the dark. They didn't dare to show themselves because they knew that both Ling Xiao and the 100-eyed demon lord were not to be trifled with. However, they didn't want to miss this exciting battle, so they hid in the dark and observed. They might even be able to take advantage of the battle between the 2 tigers. That would be even better. Greed was an emotion that no one could resist. Who wouldn't want more benefits? Chapter 1875. You sure have the guts to say that. What if you run away later? That would be really embarrassing. After hearing the 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong's oath, Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Whoever ran away was the #1 coward in the world. Although this sounded like an angry child's oath, there were so many witnesses and countless spectators watching him through the 1,000-eyed bug. If he really said that, Wulong would be cutting off his escape route. That's impossible. Wulong waved his hand. His confidence came from his powerful strength. He didn't believe that Ling Xiao could be his match, even if his cultivation in Black Wind Canyon was only 90% of the outside world. Even if he still had some trump cards that he couldn't use. But he still believed that Ling Xiao couldn't possibly be his match. If he didn't kill this person, he wouldn't be able to get rid of the hatred in his heart. There's nothing impossible in this world. Ling Xiao looked back at Danfeng and said, "You just stay behind me and heal. With me here, no one can hurt you." Understood. Danfeng didn't say anything. At this moment, he was tortured badly enough by the 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong, and was almost at his last breath. Fortunately, Ling Xiao had given him a healing elixir long ago, so he didn't die. However, before he healed, he still had something to remind Ling Xiao. "Brother Ling, be careful of that guy's eyes. They're very evil." Understood. Ling Xiao nodded. He believed that since Wulong was called the 100-eyed demon lord, it naturally wasn't a casual title. It must have something to do with this person's ability. Could it be that this guy had 100 eyes? He chuckled and didn't continue thinking about it. He would know in the battle. However, before the battle, he realized that those martial artists who were secretly watching seemed to be plotting something against Danfeng. Danfeng was seriously injured and had 10 Blackwind inscriptions. This kind of temptation wasn't low. Whoever dares to make a move against him, don't blame me for being ruthless. Ling Xiao's voice wasn't loud, but his chilling killing intent had already spread out. Many cultivators shuddered when they heard his voice and quickly gave up on their original plans. However, this was not the case for everyone. Some people didn't even put Ling Xiao in their eyes. They even felt that if the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong wasn't here, they would definitely kill Ling Xiao and Danfeng. How could they allow Ling Xiao to be so arrogant? Very well. It seems like some people are really looking for death. Ling Xiao smiled coldly. Greed was indeed an emotion that could easily drag people into hell. Not only did these martial practitioners look down on Ling Xiao, but they were also greedy by nature. They wanted to obtain more benefits at the last moment before the purgatory blood battle closed. As long as they could kill Danfeng, they could at least try their luck in the ruins. You're planning to kill them right in front of me? Are you really looking down on me? The 100-eyed demon lord could feel Ling Xiao's killing intent. However, this killing intent was locked onto the few martial artists who didn't put Ling Xiao in their eyes. This made the 100-eyed demon lord extremely displeased, because he felt that he was being looked down upon. However, Ling Xiao didn't care about him at all. In his body, a gush of green energy spiraled up and broke through the sky. In the sky, the green energy grew larger and larger and eventually condensed into a giant palm. Royal Heaven Power, Firmament Fist, kill! Without any hesitation, the terrifying giant palm fell from the sky. In the blink of an eye, the entire process only took an instant. A green light flashed past and the giant palm slapped down. Rumble! The terrifying power was released in an instant. The warriors who were clamoring the most fiercely and wanted to kill Ling Xiao and Danfeng were turned into corpses in a blink of an eye. This scene terrified the martial artists who were watching in the dark. They completely gave up the idea of sneaking an attack on Danfeng. This guy was too powerful. They didn't know what kind of move the giant green palm was. It was so terrifying. On the other hand, the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong was extremely furious. Ling Xiao didn't take him seriously and actually attacked others in front of him. You have to pay the price for looking down on me. As Wulong spoke, his fist was already in front of Ling Xiao's face. He wanted to kill Ling Xiao not only because of his anger, but also because of the dozens of black wind inscriptions in Ling Xiao's body. Once he got those inscriptions, he could take advantage of this last chance to gain even more benefits. Then it might even be possible for him to surpass Feng Fei. Are you in such a hurry to die? Ling Xiao's cold voice rang out. The firmament fist came crashing down again, startling Wulong into retreating. Rumble! A terrifying power exploded between the two of them. Smoke and dust filled the air, and rocks flew everywhere. The scene was chaotic. This is the move you got from the underground palace, right? It's very strong, but it's meaningless if it can't hit its target. Wulong's cold voice rang out again. But now that he knew how strong Ling Xiao was, he didn't dare to underestimate him anymore. Suddenly, 2 giant insects appeared behind him. The 2 insects looked very similar, but there were some differences. One of them was a gigantic centipede with 100 terrifying eyes. The other was a 1,000-legged insect, commonly known as a string of money. Its countless legs swayed in the wind. The 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong, originally had the centipede martial spirit. This time he'd received God Lord Chenzu's inheritance in Black Wind Canyon and gained the 1,000-legged insect martial spirit. The combination of the two was terrifying to the extreme. 100-eyed demon formation. Wulong gave a cold snort. The 100 eyes on the centipede martial spirit all shot out a resplendent light at the same time. Then the scene before Ling Xiao's eyes changed in an instant. The heaven and earth he saw was no longer the real heaven and earth. Instead, it had become countless eyes. Those eyes stared fixedly at him, locking him in this space. Chance. Take the chance to kill that Danfeng. Seeing Ling Xiao trapped, the martial artists hiding in the shadows grew restless again. Greed always made people lose their minds. For the sake of benefits, they forgot the fear Ling Xiao had brought them. 4 of them charged at Danfeng at the same time, wanting to take the chance to kill him. Brother Ling, Let's be brothers again in our next life." Dan Feng looked at the trapped Ling Xiao with determination in his eyes. He touched his storage ring. There were 10 thunderbolt bullets in his storage ring. Each thunderbolt bullet could easily kill a low-level yin-yang realm martial practitioner. Even if 10 thunderbolt bullets couldn't kill the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong, it should be enough to create a chance for Ling Xiao to escape. Ling Xiao knew how powerful Wulong was, but he still came to save him. Just because of this, Dan Feng would definitely not hesitate to use his life to help Ling Xiao. Madman! The 4 martial artists who were approaching Dan Feng were shocked when they saw the situation. They didn't want to die. However, Wulong didn't seem to care about Dan Feng's actions. A weakling like you doesn't even have the right to die with me. He looked at Dan Feng coldly with disdain. Chapter 1876. Brother Dan Feng, don't die in vain. Ling Xiao's voice suddenly rang in Dan Feng's ears. Although he didn't know what Ling Xiao meant, based on his trust in Ling Xiao, he took out 4 thunderbolt bombs and threw them at the 4 martial practitioners who were trying to kill him. The rest were all thrown at the 100-eyed demon lord, Wulong. After 4 loud explosions, the 4 martial artists who had tried to sneak attack him were blown to smithereens on the spot. The black wind inscription drilled into his body and actually healed his injuries. This was probably the uniqueness of the Black Wind Canyon. As for the 6 thunderbolt bombs that were thrown at Wulong, they didn't make any noise and were directly crushed by Wulong. Mere thunderbolt bombs, boring things. You want to hurt me? Wulong looked at Dan Feng coldly and said, I wanted to let you live for a while and witness Ling Xiao's tragic death. But you're too annoying, so I'll let you die now. He suddenly snorted and 2 tentacle-like insect legs flew out from his back and attacked Dan Feng. Dan Feng was seriously injured and couldn't block this attack. Just as he was about to be killed, the ground suddenly trembled. Countless pieces of soil and stones flew up and formed an impenetrable shield around Dan Feng. Bang! Pa! The tentacle-like insect legs hit the shield and couldn't penetrate it. My shield of earth isn't that easy to break. Your opponent is me, not him. Ling Xiao's voice sounded. Then the green palm tore a gap in the 100-eyed demon formation, revealing Ling Xiao's cold eyes. Good boy, you're not even afraid of my 100-eyed demon formation. Looks like you've got something good. The 100-eyed demon lord sneered. Ling Xiao's strength was indeed beyond his expectations. But to him, it wasn't a bad thing. Only by killing such a person could he show his value. Kill! Wulong roared and flew into the 100-eyed demon formation. Countless tentacles came out from his back and attacked Ling Xiao. Each of the tentacles carried an incomparably sharp aura, as if they were going to cut Ling Xiao's body into pieces. At the same time, all the eyes in the 100 Eyes demonic array shot out a bright light. Each light was as sharp as a sword, causing people to shudder. Profound world body, Inferno divine phoenix. At this moment, Ling Xiao had transformed into a raging flames divine phoenix. His entire body had turned into scarlet flames. Regardless of whether it was the tentacles or the sword-like rays of light, they were all useless against his body. All the attacks penetrated his body, but it was like penetrating a flame. The flame instantly returned to its original state. The sky dragon of the Sky Dragon continent had transformed into the ruler of lightning. The divine phoenix continent's divine phoenix transformed into the ruler of blazing flames and profound ice. It could switch forms according to its needs. Ling Xiao was currently using the Inferno Divine Phoenix incarnation. He also had the mysterious Ice Divine Phoenix incarnation that he had not used yet. Interesting. The 100 Eyes Demon Lord, Wulong, said that it was interesting, but he was very unhappy. At this moment, in Black Wind Canyon, he could only use the power of the Black Wind, although his cultivation had reached 90% of the outside world. He could not use many of the martial skills that he was good at. After all, the attribute of the power of the Black Wind was far from his inner strength. Otherwise, he could have killed Ling Xiao right now. However, he had already bragged earlier. If he could not kill Ling Xiao, he would really lose face. 100 Eyes, demonic array, illusion. Since the sharp rays of light could not kill Ling Xiao, he had to use other moves. His title as the 100 Eyes Demon Lord, Wulong, was not for nothing. At that moment, Ling Xiao felt dizzy. Then he saw that the entire world seemed to be shaking. It was so unreal and so strange. It was as if he was standing on a constantly shaking sponge. His feet were unstable, and he could not exert any strength at all. The 100 Eyes Demon Lord is really powerful. He can perform such a terrifying move without using his full strength. If he were to use his full strength, I would definitely be no match for him. Ling Xiao rejoiced in his heart. This Black Wind Canyon had helped him greatly. Power of earth, immovable mountain. Ling Xiao suddenly sat on the ground with his legs crossed. His voice was like a thunderclap. After that, his entire body seemed to have transformed into a cliff, and the terrifying illusion could no longer move him in the slightest. It could not cause any damage to his soul. Power of heaven, firmament fist. Defense was not a habit of Ling Xiao. After stabilizing his body, Ling Xiao performed the power of heaven and threw a punch at the 100 Eyes Demon Lord. Sir God Qianzu, Thousand Shadows Fist. The 100 Eyes Demon Lord snorted. The tentacles on his back turned into fists and threw them at the firmament fist. Countless fists continued to collide and actually managed to block the firmament fist in midair. Then, countless tentacles flew out again and wrapped around the fists tightly. The firmament fist could not move at all. You can't trap the Emperor's sky. Ling Xiao's cold voice was heard. Green radiance shone on the firmament fist, and it became more and more dazzling. Bam! Piak! Under the terrifying power of the firmament fist, the tentacles were torn apart one by one. What? Wulong's gaze froze. How can Ling Xiao be so powerful? What kind of power is he using? There is a suppression from the firmament that almost suffocates him. He even had the thought of running away. No, I am the 100 Eyes Demon Lord. How can I be defeated? Wulong roared to the sky. The centipede martial soul and the 1,000 feet martial soul entered his body at the same time. At that moment, his body started to change tremendously. His original humanoid body had become incomparably ugly. 2 heads poked out from each of his shoulders and continued to elongate. At a closer look, they were the heads of the centipede martial soul and the 1,000 feet martial soul. Not only that, but Wulong's body had also become a lot bigger. He was about 4 to 5 meters tall, and countless densely packed tentacles had actually grown out of his back. He looked extremely terrifying. Die! The infuriated 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong, roared furiously. Countless tentacles shot towards Ling Xiao. The power of each tentacle was several times stronger than before. After all, the tentacles from before were just illusions. But now, it was something that truly existed. Ling Xiao frowned slightly. This guy did not care about his ugliness and turned into such a weird monster in his rage. But ugly as it was, this monster was indeed stronger than before. Do you think you are the only one with a martial soul? Ling Xiao's expression did not change. He raised his hands to the sky and shouted, "Strength of the Emperor's sky to my body! With my body I shall suppress all evil." At that moment, a huge green radiance fell into his body. His body also grew several meters in size, taking on the appearance of the imperial sky great god. Only his face was different from that of the sculpture. He held the giant sword in his hand and slashed at the 100-eyes demon lord. Chapter 1877. Although Ling Xiao couldn't transform into his ultimate form and use both the Imperial Sky and Empress Earth's divine powers, he could still borrow their powers. Flee! The 100-eyed demon monarch Wulong felt an incomparably terrifying killing intent as he looked at the enormous sword that seemed to be pouring down from the sky. At this moment, he seemed to have seen his own death. He no longer cared about his face and turned to flee. His words of "whoever flees is the world's greatest coward" had long been thrown to the back of his mind. Can you escape? Since he'd already used the giant sword, how could Ling Xiao allow hundred-eyed demon Lord Wulong to escape? The terrifying sword glint tore through the sky and chased after Wulong. Before it even reached him, Wulong could already feel his countless tentacles breaking apart. Block it, ah! He roared as the two heads on his shoulders flew off. The giant centipede and thousand-legged worm simultaneously gave him time to escape. But in the blink of an eye, the two heads shattered as the shadow of the giant's sword descended upon his head. Aye! Suddenly a sigh was heard. Then a hand as delicate as white jade appeared and gently blocked the huge sword that was slashing down. The person who'd sighed hovered in midair and looked mildly at the wretched Wulong. I told you long ago that it's enough to deal with the weak in Black Wind Canyon. There's no need to find troublesome fellows, but you didn't listen. Now, look, you've been killed by someone weaker than you. Feng Fei. Ling Xiao stared fixedly at the owner of the white, jade-like hand. Feng Fei really was a frightening fellow. This was still within Black Wind Canyon, where the other party couldn't even use their full strength. Yet she could block his giant sword so easily. Just how terrifying was this woman's strength? Junior sister, I know my wrongs. Wulong lowered his head. Before Feng Fei, he looked like a child who'd made a mistake. It's good that you know your wrongs. Come with me. Once we're out, use your true strength to make him pay the price. From start to finish, Feng Fei didn't spare Ling Xiao a glance. Even though Ling Xiao's performance wasn't bad, she only had two opponents. One was Heavenly Ocean Tyranny, and the other was White Tiger Empire's Lei Lai. As for the others, although they were all part of the top 13 geniuses, she really didn't care about them. It was like how Tyranny Heavenly Ocean didn't put Sun Lingchan, Muan Shuang, or Sacred Sword in their eyes. Ling Xiao naturally had to be killed. However, his life belonged to Wulong, got it? Wulong nodded and glared fiercely at Ling Xiao. Aye, Wulong will definitely avenge today's humiliation. Only then did Feng Fei raise his head to glance at Ling Xiao. Still, his eyes were slightly shut, as if he disdained to look at the man. Keep your life for now. I will not kill you because your life belongs to my senior brother, Wulong. In the eyes of the surrounding martial artists and spectators, his arrogant attitude didn't seem to be inappropriate at all. Feng Fei was one of the top geniuses of the entire White Tiger continent. She had the right to look down on Ling Xiao and look down on Ling Xiao. If you don't kill me today, you'll definitely regret it. Ling Xiao looked at Feng Fei as he spoke. Regret it? Feng Fei laughed softly. You really don't deserve to make me regret it. So speaking, Feng Fei left with the hundred-eyed demon lord. Ling Xiao didn't chase after them. He knew that he wasn't Feng Fei's match. This woman had used some unknown method to maintain the same level of strength as him outside. Without the restrictions of Black Wind Canyon, Ling Xiao was definitely no match for Feng Fei. Although he was confident and brave, he wasn't stupid. If he couldn't win, he couldn't win. There was no need to throw his life away. After all, Feng Fei wasn't Wulong. No matter what, today's battle had made him famous. Meanwhile, the hundred-eyed demon, Lord Wulong, would have to bear the title of world's #1 coward for a very long time. Dan Feng, let's go. Because Dan Feng was heavily injured, Ling Xiao didn't dare to leave him here. Thus, he planned to take Dan Feng with him to the Sword Immortal Tomb, just like when he saved Zhu Xiaocong last time. Brother Ling, you don't need to be discouraged. Your talent and comprehension are the most outstanding I've ever seen. Although you can't compare to Feng Fei now, you'll definitely surpass him in the future. Dan Feng seemed to sense that Ling Xiao was a little quiet, so he spoke up to comfort him. Ha 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 ha. Brother Dan Feng's words are very true. Ling Xiao laughed heartily. His thoughts were the same as Dan Feng's. As long as he cultivated his profound world body to a certain level, even if it wasn't the best, it'd be easy to kill Feng Fei. Just you wait, Feng Fei. You'll definitely pay for your contempt. Moreover, it won't take long. Ling Xiao had a principle of revenge. If he could take revenge today, he'd never delay it until tomorrow. When he had the ability to take revenge, he'd definitely beat Feng Fei until he was looking for his teeth on the ground and kneeling in front of him. Halt! Are you the trash who dared to be disrespectful to Senior Brother Wulong? Just as Ling Xiao and Dan Feng were about to head to the Sword Immortal tomb, they suddenly discovered a person standing in front of the tomb. It seemed that he'd been waiting there for a long time. This person was a disciple of the Zhengyi school, the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong's best friend. He was also one of the 7 disciples of the Zhengyi school and ranked 6th, one place higher than Jun Macho. He'd met Wulong before, so he knew that Ling Xiao had injured him. He decided to wait here to kill Ling Xiao. He believed that since Ling Xiao had come to the Sword Immortal tomb, there was a high chance that he'd come back. Originally, he was about to be disappointed when the purgatory blood battle was nearing its end. Who knew that Ling Xiao would actually appear? He was inexplicably excited. He jumped into the sky and directly attacked Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes were indifferent. He was still looking at the door of the Sword Immortal tomb. He didn't even look at that person before he casually punched out. Imperial Heaven Power, Tyrant Fist of the Heavens. A terrifying fist shadow whistled towards that martial artist. That person was instantly terrified to the extreme. His eyes were filled with that huge fist and a terrified expression. He was one of the 7 disciples of the Zhengyi school. Was he going to die in the hands of such an unknown person? Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shattering roar. That person's body was messed up in the wind. Then it shattered. In the end, only 10 black wind inscriptions were left. They drifted with the wind and entered Ling Xiao's body. At this point, Ling Xiao already had 34 black wind inscriptions that he could use. That would be a huge fortune. He believed that no matter what he encountered in the Sword Immortal tomb, it would be enough. This scene was also seen by many martial artists who had just come out of the teleportation array. They stood there and suddenly didn't dare to move. It was as if their bodies had been immobilized. They had originally planned to go to the Sword Immortal tomb, but when they found such a tyrannical guy coming over, no one expected that he would be killed in the end. Ling Xiao killed the 6th son of the Zhengyi school, as if he had killed an insignificant mosquito. He didn't even look at the martial artists who had rushed over from the teleportation array and directly entered the Sword Immortal tomb. Chapter 1878. Ling Xiao stepped into the Sword Immortal tomb. There was less than half an hour left before the end of the first purgatory blood battle. Therefore, Ling Xiao did not dare to delay. He immediately used the 9 black wind inscriptions to unseal the 4th and 5th moves of the Red Sun sword technique. After unsealing them, Ling Xiao did not try to comprehend them. Anyway, even if he left the Black Wind Canyon, he would still have the chance to comprehend them. He still had 35 black wind inscriptions left. He needed to get more things. He could not let these black wind inscriptions go to waste. Rumble. Just as he was about to leave the Sword Immortal tomb to look for other opportunities, the 5 doors of the Sword Immortal tomb suddenly merged into one and became a huge bronze door. On it were written the words, "Place of the Killing God Burial." And under the big words, there were small words. Ling Xiao took a look. It meant that the Killing God by Rin was ordered to hunt down the human immortals who had defected. Although he was one of the 12 human immortals under the Human King and was extremely powerful, there were 6 of them. All of them were top human immortals. Black Wind King, Qing Mang King, Boulder King, War Dragon King, Red Sword General, Sir God Qian Zhu. These 6 people, led by the Black Wind King, set up a trap and fought with the Killing God by Rin for 7 days and 7 nights. In the end, Byron killed 6 people and was seriously injured. Even so, he had completed the Human King's mission. However, when Byron was about to leave, he was ambushed by his subordinate and his life was in danger. His subordinate had actually been subdued by the heavenly demon and became a spy. Unfortunately, Byron was brave but not smart enough. That was why he did not see through it and died. However, before he died, he left his 3 origin divine swords in the Sword Immortal tomb. He hoped that someone could get them so that they would not be lost. The so-called origin divine sword was a divine sword condensed from the warrior's most essential energy. Not only was it an energy sword, but it was also a sword that recorded the warrior's lifetime of memories. Mastering one of them would allow one to master one of Byron's ultimate moves. After reading all this, Ling Xiao was truly shocked. The legends of the later generations were fragmented, and the recorded history was not complete at all. There were many things that couldn't be found in books. If he hadn't unlocked the 5 movements of the Red Sun sword technique by luck, he wouldn't have been able to activate Byron's burial ground. It seemed like there were some things that really required luck. If he didn't come back, how could he have such luck? Brother Danfeng, you stay here and recuperate. I'll be right back. Ling Xiao reached out and pushed open the huge bronze door, then stepped through it. Since the text said that the killing god White Blade had left 3 origin swords here, then it was definitely not a lie. Inside the giant bronze door, Ling Xiao saw a shocking scene. There was a blood-red skeleton sitting there. Although the flesh had long since rotted away, the skeleton was still intact. Moreover, it was not white or gray. Instead, it was blood-red with a blood-red glow. The horrible killing intent made people shudder. On the other side, there was another skeleton that had been stabbed by 3 swords. It also emitted a powerful aura. It was also the skeleton of a human immortal, but it looked much weaker than Byron's. The one who was killed should be the one who betrayed Byron. I didn't expect that he also left behind an inheritance. It seems that before he died, the demonic power of the heavenly demon in his body dissipated, and he finally repented. Ling Xiao observed the situation inside and made a judgment. Under Byron's skeleton, there was a small line of words. To obtain Byron's inheritance, you need the killing god, White Blade, martial spirit, and 10 inscriptions. To obtain Byron's skeleton and 10 inscriptions. To obtain 3 origin swords and 12 inscriptions. A total of 32 inscriptions. Ling Xiao was delighted. He still had 35 inscriptions of Black Wind left. He could get all of Byron's things. Next to the skeleton of the traitor, there were also words. Although he was not a human immortal, he betrayed Byron. He committed a grave sin. Before he died, he suddenly repented and left his inheritance for the fated person to comprehend. 8 inscriptions of Black Wind are required. Seeing this, Ling Xiao walked out of the giant bronze gate again and called Danfeng in. At this time, Danfeng was beside him, and Danfeng also had enough inscriptions of Black Wind to comprehend this person's inheritance. Both of them were quite lucky. Although Ling Xiao might waste 3 inscriptions of Black Wind, nothing could be so perfect. 26 minutes left. Hurry up and comprehend it. This kind of inheritance couldn't be taken away like memory metal. He could only comprehend it on the spot. How much he could get depended entirely on his luck. Ling Xiao first took Byron's skeleton and put it into the mountain river world. Although he didn't know what the skeleton was used for, since it required 10 inscriptions of Black Wind, it must be something extraordinary. After that, he took the 3 origin swords. The moment the origin swords entered the mountain river world, terrifying sword light shot up to the sky and tore apart the remaining Black Wind in the sky above Black Wind Canyon. Some warriors who were closest to the canyon were injured by the terrifying sword chi and broke out in a cold sweat. I didn't expect that someone would get a new inheritance in the end. Lawless looked in the direction of Black Wind Canyon. According to the investigation of the Black Tortoise Temple, there should be 6 great inheritances in Black Wind Canyon. They were Black Wind, Qingmeng, Juyan, Zhanlong, Qijian, and Qianzhou. However, it was very clear that 3 completely different legacies had appeared out of nowhere in the Purgatory blood battle this time. Moreover, every single one of them was extremely powerful. As for what they were, even Lawless didn't know. There was no record in the Black Tortoise Temple's information. It seemed that he had to wait until the end of the White Tiger meet to get in touch with these talented warriors. He wanted to know what kind of inheritance memories they had. After suppressing the origin swords, Ling Xiao began to comprehend Bai Ren's inheritance. The killing god's white blade martial soul appeared behind his back. Then 10 Black Wind inscriptions flew out and flashed in the air. Surprisingly, it was connected to Bai Ren's skeleton in the Mountain River world. At that moment, Ling Xiao saw Universe Tyrant once again. In the vast universe, apart from what he had seen before, there was nothing else. Another figure appeared. It was a man wearing a black iron helmet and black battle armor, with 3 long swords floating behind his back. White blade of the killing god. Ling Xiao stared fixedly at this figure. He could feel a terrifying, murderous aura that was thousands of times stronger than his own. Bai Ren was surrounded by countless black shadows, and the black shadows still came from the dark space that had attacked the Imperial Heaven, Queen Earth. Ling Xiao didn't know why this space existed in his universe of tyrants, but he was sure that the things that came out of it were very powerful. Kill! Bai Ren was brimming with killing intent. Wielding 2 origin swords, Bai Ren charged into the enemy ranks. Her killing intent surged to the sky. This murderous aura seemed to have completely materialized. Many of the black shadows that came into contact with it were torn into pieces on the spot. Chapter 1879. The battle did not only leave Bai Ren with scars, but it also increased his combat power. This guy was different from Imperial Heaven Hutu. The more enemies he killed, the stronger his murderous aura became. It was as though he was an immortal. His body was covered with various weapons and blood was gushing out. However, he did not retreat. Instead, he became even more terrifying. His black armor turned red, and the 3 origin swords were also dyed red. His battle continued. Rumble. In the outside world, Lawless was even more shocked. Although the 3 terrifying sword auras were terrifying, they were only sword auras after all. They did not have a consciousness. However, this time, the murderous aura that rushed out of Black Wind Canyon seemed to be alive, causing every martial artist's soul to tremble violently. Even Lawless could feel the trembling in the depths of his heart. Who is it? What kind of terrifying inheritance did they unlock? He stared at Black Wind Canyon in disbelief. However, Black Wind Canyon was currently covered in blood. All the 1,000-eyed winged insects had died an unnatural death. None of them were still alive, and none of them could continue to play the scene inside. Looks like I can only investigate after the White Tiger meet ends. Fortunately, the Purgatory blood battle will end in a few minutes. The 6 great inheritances have become 9. No, it should be 10. I wonder which 10 people have become the lucky ones this time. Lawless looked at the time. He suddenly extended his right hand and announced loudly, "The first battle of the White Tiger meet, the Purgatory blood battle, has ended." As his voice fell, a huge array diagram fell into Black Wind Canyon. Then all the martial artists who entered Black Wind Canyon were forcefully teleported out, including the corpses. Of course, the corpses were not complete. Some of the martial artists were directly eaten by beasts, while others were killed without leaving a trace. The Black Tortoise Temple is indeed powerful. They actually mastered such a magical array. When the crowd saw the martial artists who were teleported out, they were all shocked and even horrified. Very few of them had heard of the Black Tortoise Temple, let alone experienced how terrifying it was. However, this magical teleportation array told them that the Black tortoise temple deserved its reputation. So many people died. Everyone's attention was focused on the martial artists who were still alive. About 70 or 80 people died. It was truly tragic. The 70 to 80 people who had died were also outstanding geniuses of the four great empires and the Jing school. Although it wasn't the best, it was still a pity. These people came to the extreme place of myriad thunders with boundless hope. They wanted to be like carps leaping over the dragon's gate, for a brighter future for themselves. They all felt that they could succeed and that they wouldn't die. However, death was fair. Regardless of whether you were confident or not, you still had to die. Son, big brother, sister. Suddenly, all kinds of mournful screams rang out one after another. After all, 70 to 80 people had died. These people had family and friends. Now that they were dead, their family and friends would naturally be grieving. They would be in so much pain that they wished they were dead. Many people's faces were ashen. Some were incomparably furious, while others were filled with murderous intent. What they had lost was not only their family and friends, but also the hopes of many people. Perhaps if a genius were to fall, their entire family or sect would decline and become pitiful creatures that could be bullied by anyone. For example, the Tianhai Sacred Academy. There were many warriors who had participated in the white tiger meet. In addition to the four ferocious beasts and the sacred sword of the wind demon, there were a few others. However, these people were all killed by Ling Xiao. The higher-ups of the Tianhai Sacred Academy stared at the crowd. They weren't looking for the bodies of their disciples, but for Ling Xiao. If Ling Xiao was still alive, the Tianhai Sacred Academy would definitely torture Ling Xiao to death with the most painful punishment in the world. There he was. They soon found Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao was talking and laughing with Dan Feng, who was beside him. He looked very happy. However, Ling Xiao's smile was so hateful and intolerable in their eyes. Old Master Hong, not only did your good grandson survive, but he also ensured that those people weren't killed. His performance this time wasn't bad, right? The sacred sword of the wine demon asked Hong Qi with a smile. Hong Qi stroked his beard and smiled very happily. He was naturally overjoyed that his grandson didn't die. Sigh. The dignified Tianhai Sacred Academy has fallen to such a state. If it were me, I would go and kill that Ling Xiao right now. A strange voice sounded in the ears of the higher-ups of the Tianhai Sacred Academy. They turned their heads to look. It was a guy wearing a pitch-black cloak and a mask on his face. The voice was like a woman's, but also like a man's. It was very harsh to listen to. Although they were very angry at these words, they had to admit that this person was right. Ling Xiao had almost cut off all hope of the Tianhai Sacred Academy. How could they not hate him? In fact, there was another person who was even angrier than the higher-ups of the Tianhai Sacred Academy. That was Wu Qinhuang. Wu Qinhuang was the leader of the Tianhai Empire's team this time. However, he had witnessed Ling Xiao kill more than a dozen martial artists of the Tianhai Empire with his own eyes. Now, in the Tianhai Empire, besides the martial artists of the Heavenly Empire led by Ling Xiao, there were only 6 people left. Tianhai Tyranny, Sun Lingchan, Muan Shuang, Lu Lian, Xiao Budian, and Ko Xiling. Most of the rest were killed by Ling Xiao, and some were killed by other martial artists. This directly led to the Tianhai Empire suffering the heaviest losses in this purgatory blood battle. As the person directly in charge, how could he not be angry? The number of participants in this purgatory blood battle reached 155, but now there were only 78 people left. The death toll was as high as 77 people, which was almost half of the total. The 4 great empires and the Jing school had suffered great losses. However, most of the losses of the Tianhai Empire were on Ling Xiao's head. This was something that Wu Qinhuang couldn't accept. Of course, none of the 13 top geniuses had died, and it was obvious that they had all benefited. Ling Xiao suddenly turned to look at the 100-eyed demon lord of the Jing school, Wu Long, and revealed a mocking smile. As one of the 13 top geniuses, Wu Long had nearly died twice in Black Wind Canyon at the hands of Ling Xiao. Fortunately, Zui Linglong and Feng Fei had come to his rescue and saved his life. He looked at Wu Long, and Wu Long stared back at him with an extremely cold gaze. In his heart, Wu Long hated Ling Xiao to the bone. This time he had received divine Lord Qianzu's legacy, one of the 6 great inheritances. This would allow his strength to break through even more quickly. Because of the limited conditions in Black Wind Canyon, he couldn't kill Ling Xiao. Instead, he was humiliated by Ling Xiao. But now that he was out, he would never let Ling Xiao and the people by Ling Xiao's side off. Chapter 1880. Wu Long swore that he would let those insignificant fellows know the terrible consequences of offending him. If he didn't kill Ling Xiao and all his friends, he would never be able to quench the hatred in his heart. Ling Xiao, get out here. Suddenly, a shout came from the crowd. Prince Wu and Prince Yin walked out. The shout came from none other than Prince Wu. He felt that, as the leader of the Sky Sea Empire, he had to at least do something to stop Ling Xiao from being too arrogant. If possible, he hoped that Heavenly Sea Tyranny could act and kill Ling Xiao. Take him seriously. HM, Hundred-Eyed Demon, Lord Wu Long, heard Prince Wu's shout and smiled. He hadn't expected Ling Xiao to have offended so many people. He hadn't even made a move yet, but there were already people who couldn't hold themselves back. Ling Xiao ignored Prince Wu. He didn't even glance at him. Instead, he continued to discuss something with Dan Feng. This made Prince Wu feel like he had lost face. Your Highness Crown Prince, you must know that Ling Xiao has brutally killed more than 10 of Sky Sea Empire's martial artists. If he isn't properly punished, I'm afraid it will be difficult to convince the public. Prince Wu was embarrassed to see Ling Xiao ignore him. However, he wasn't as strong as Ling Xiao, and he didn't dare to rashly attack. He could only ask for Heavenly Sea Tyranny's help. Heavenly Sea Tyranny closed his eyes, as if comprehending something. The Crown Princess said coldly, "Just do as you wish. If he dares to act, we will naturally stand up for you. Many thanks to your Highness Crown Prince, Crown Princess." After receiving the Crown Princess's promise, Prince Wu's attitude became even more arrogant. He pointed at Ling Xiao and roared, "Ling Xiao, if you're a man, stand up. Don't be a coward." "Ling Xiao, get the hell out here." Sky Sea Holy Court's higher-ups also roared. "Execute Ling Xiao on the spot." Water God Temple's Sect Master Tian Hai Mingwei shouted. "This child's crimes are unforgivable." White Horse's king roared. "If this thief isn't eliminated, Sky Sea Empire can forget about getting any results at the White Tiger Gathering." The people of the Heavenly Demon Cult were also jeering. "Ha ha ha, Ling Xiao, weren't you arrogant? Why are you like a mouse with its tail between its legs, not daring to make a sound?" The 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long laughed heartily. Seeing that Ling Xiao was being ridiculed by the crowd, he naturally wanted to join in. "Hee, that's still better than you, the #1 coward in the world. What face do you have to mock me?" Ling Xiao slowly stood up and looked disdainfully at the 100-eyed demon, Lord Wu Long. "Brat, I dare you to say that again. Don't forget, this isn't Blackwind Gorge anymore. Do you really think I'm afraid of you?" 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long roared fiercely. "You've said the same thing twice before, and both times you ran away with your tail between your legs. Hee hee, I wonder what will happen this time." Ling Xiao calmly looked at the 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long, completely fearless. "Enough. Participants are not allowed to kill each other outside of the competition. Otherwise, they will be disqualified." Lawless harumphed coldly. These words were very interesting. In other words, those who weren't participants were allowed to kill each other. This was obviously a hint to someone. "Brat, I'll spare you now, but you'll die in the second battle." Wu Long harumphed coldly and sat back down. A coward will always be a coward. It's the same no matter when. Ling Xiao sneered and turned to look at the martial prince, ignoring the 100-eyed demon monarch Wulong Wulong, was so angry that his face turned pale. However, he really didn't dare to attack Ling Xiao under lawless eyes. "How do you want to punish me?" Ling Xiao asked the martial prince. The martial prince was stunned. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to ask such a question. He thought that Ling Xiao would argue. After a while, he clenched his teeth and said, "Killing a participant from the same country should be executed." Executed, right? Tianhai tyranny and the crown princess killed participants from the same country in order to increase their cultivation. Do you dare to execute them? Ling Xiao asked disdainfully. This question stumped Wu Qinhuang. "Brat, you're just a commoner. How can you be compared to the honorable crown prince and the crown princess? Even if those people died, they did it willingly." One of the higher-ups of Tianhai, holy institution, said. "That's right, that's the reason." The martial prince agreed. Hee, such a shameless reason. But it doesn't matter. Martial prince, if you want to kill me, then come. I'll give you 3 moves. I won't attack. Ling Xiao suddenly smiled and said, "Are you serious?" The martial prince thought. Although he wasn't Ling Xiao's opponent, if he just stood there and let him attack, even if he couldn't kill Ling Xiao, he could at least injure him. This way he wouldn't lose face. If the emperor asked him in the future, it would be easier to answer. "Of course I'm serious. Do you think I'm like your royal family, going back on my words?" Ling Xiao said disdainfully. "Ling Xiao, speak clearly. How can we, the royal family's martial artists, go back on our words?" The crown princess asked coldly. "Do you need me to say it? You promised to protect the wind demon, sacred sword. But he was still killed by me. If this isn't going back on your words, then what is? Or perhaps what the crown prince said before was just a lie." Ling Xiao glanced at the crown princess. Without waiting for her to refute, he looked at the martial prince and said, "Do it. If you don't want to, then forget it. But after that, shut your stinky mouth. You asked for it." The martial prince sneered and slowly approached Ling Xiao. He was slow because he needed to accumulate internal energy to give Ling Xiao his strongest attack. He had wanted to kill Ling Xiao for a long time. He wanted to kill him when he returned from the underground world. But because he couldn't kill the martial artists at that time, he held back. But now he had a reason and opportunity to kill Ling Xiao. Naturally, he wouldn't give up. Moreover, he clearly felt that Ling Xiao's strength had a breakthrough. If this guy continued to improve, the crown prince and the crown princess wouldn't be able to suppress him in the future. So he had to get rid of him as soon as possible. When he was 3 to 4 meters away from Ling Xiao, the martial prince's body had completely transformed into the crocodile god form. The huge claws shone with a shocking cold light and killing intent. "Die. You will definitely regret what you did today." The huge crocodile god brandished its terrifying claws. The yin and yang origin power boiled and roared. The powerful aura had not even touched Ling Xiao, but it had already exploded with a shocking power. Many martial artists in the vicinity dodged, afraid that they would be affected by this attack. "Brother Ling." Dan Feng didn't leave and called out, "Go away first. I will play with him." Ling Xiao waved his hand, indicating that Dan Feng didn't need to care about this. He had his own reasons for taking the martial prince's 3 attacks head-on. The first reason was that he wanted to test how strong his evolved, mystic world body was in the outside world. The second reason was that he could openly kill this Wu Qinhuang. Chapter 1881. Just like how Wu Qinhuang wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had wanted to kill Wu Qinhuang a long time ago too. Wu Qinhuang kept provoking him and causing trouble for him. He could not take it anymore. If he did not kill this troublesome fellow, he would feel like there were bugs buzzing in his ears all day. That being said, Killing the martial prince was also a warning to the rest of the factions that were hostile toward him, to let them know that they would have to bear a great risk if they were to attack him, which could result in their deaths. Wu Long looked at this scene coldly and revealed an interested smile. He wanted to see how long this arrogant Ling Xiao could last under Wu Qinhuang's fist. Wu Qinhuang was a 12th level yin-yang martial artist, after all. He must have a Dharma treasure on him. Ling Xiao was asking for trouble since he dared to boast that he would not attack. Everyone stared at Wu Qinhuang's huge crocodile claw. They wanted to know how big of an effect this attack would have. Boom! The terrifying claw slapped Ling Xiao's head. The huge impact created a huge crater where Ling Xiao was standing. However, Ling Xiao stood there and levitated. He even had a mocking smile on his face. What? Wu Qinhuang was shocked. He could not believe what he was seeing. He had attacked in his crocodile form. Even a 13th level yin-yang martial artist would not dare to take this attack head-on, let alone stand there and let him hit him. Ling Xiao was only at the 7th level yin-yang martial artist. How could he be so terrifying? Also, his claw did not feel like it was hitting a person. It felt more like it was hitting diamond meteoric iron. Not only was there no effect, but it also caused him great pain. He was not the only one who was stunned. Everyone else who saw this was stunned too. What was going on with Ling Xiao's defense? Are you tickling me? Ling Xiao looked at Wu Qinhuang with a mocking expression. Impossible. The martial prince simply could not believe the scene before his eyes. In his rage, he actually opened his bloody mouth and bit towards Ling Xiao's head. Crack! Such an attack was met with a mouth full of broken teeth. It's already been 2 moves. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance. Ling Xiao still looked at Wu Qinhuang with disdain, unmoving like a mountain. Prince Wu, calm down. Don't waste this opportunity. Use all the magic treasures you have. Just as Prince Wu's mind was in such a mess that he didn't know what to do, the crown princess' voice rang out. He had to admit that this woman was really amazing. At this moment, Wu Qinhuang really needed these words. After calming down, Prince Wu nodded and returned to his half-crocodile state. Only in this state and human form could he use magic treasures. A strange weapon flew out from his storage ring. It was like a sword, but also like a knife. However, it looked more like the teeth of some kind of monster. This is a magic treasure made from our ancestors' teeth. It's already a fine spirit weapon. With the crocodile god's power, even a 16th level yin-yang martial artist would definitely die in 1 hit. Prince Wu looked at Ling Xiao coldly and said, "Fear Ling Xiao. You don't have the chance to regret. This is my strongest attack and also my greatest trump card." He really wanted to see fear on Ling Xiao's face. This was because watching Ling Xiao being killed in fear would definitely be more exciting than this. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. Ling Xiao picked his ears and blew away the earwax on his fingers. He said impatiently, "So much nonsense. Are you going to fight or not?" At that moment, everyone saw Prince Wu's embarrassed expression. To cover up this embarrassment, Prince Wu finally attacked. He mobilized all the yin-yang energy in his body and injected it into the crocodile god's teeth. Then he stabbed it towards Ling Xiao's throat. Even though the weapon in his hand was extremely powerful, he still planned to attack Ling Xiao's weakest point for safety's sake. Kill! The cold crocodile god's teeth pierced Ling Xiao's throat. Finally, blood dripped out. This scene made Ling Xiao's friends nervous. However, it made Ling Xiao's enemies excited. They wanted to see Ling Xiao being killed the most. Unfortunately, they were disappointed once again. Your attack is not bad. Unfortunately, you only managed to injure my skin. Ling Xiao reached out calmly and gently grabbed the crocodile god's teeth. 3 moves have passed. You've wasted your chance. Now it's my turn. What? You didn't say anything like that just now. Prince Wu panicked. He thought Ling Xiao gave him 3 moves because he was afraid and did not dare to go against so many people. But now he understood. Ling Xiao gave him 3 moves to give him a reason to be killed. I didn't say it just now, but I did say it before. Whoever wants to kill me, I will kill them regardless of the reason. Ling Xiao looked at Wu Qinhuang with a hint of contempt. What a fool! He actually thought that he could hit him 3 times for no reason? Ling Xiao, do you know the consequences of killing Prince Wu? The crown princess coldly looked at Ling Xiao and questioned. Ling Xiao, will do what I want to do. How can I allow others to tell me what to do? Consequences? That's something you should think about, not me. He coldly glanced at the crown princess and suddenly looked at Prince Wu. In that instant, a suffocating killing intent shot out from his body. This killing intent was like a poisonous insect that entered Prince Wu's body. It planted the seed of fear deep into Prince Wu's soul realm. What's going on? This guy's killing intent. Why does it seem to have gotten stronger? Those who were familiar with Ling Xiao knew that Ling Xiao's killing intent was extremely terrifying. However, the murderous aura he felt today was even more terrifying than before. Could it be that he got the last inheritance? Lawless frowned and looked at Ling Xiao with a serious expression. If this guy got the inheritance, it would be hard to control him. Die. Ling Xiao looked at Prince Wu with disdain. He did not even make a move. His terrifying killing intent turned into a huge sword and pierced Prince Wu's body. No, I don't want to. I don't want to die. Prince Wu felt the killing intent enter his body and his whole body spasmed. The shadow of death had completely shrouded him. If you don't want to die, it's not up to you. Boom! In that instant, the terrifying killing intent caused Prince Wu's body to explode. Blood rained down from the sky, but not a single drop fell on Ling Xiao. Withdrawing his killing intent, Ling Xiao sat back down as if nothing had happened. I've troubled everyone to watch a boring trick. Let's continue. Boring trick? Everyone felt that it was ridiculous. After all, they had witnessed the shocking scene earlier with their very own eyes. If that scene was not shocking enough, they could not think of anything else that would be. Chapter 1882. A 12th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist had used a weapon that could kill a 16th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist. But he had only scratched this guy's skin a little. On the other hand, Ling Xiao did not even use any techniques. He merely relied on his killing intent to kill this 12th level Yin-Yang martial artist. If this was not shocking enough, what else could be more shocking? Ling Xiao must have obtained some benefits in Black Wind Canyon. Everyone thought of this at the same time. After all, they were not stupid. They could not think of anything else other than inherited memories in Black Wind Canyon that allowed Ling Xiao to display greater strength than before. This little guy is getting more and more powerful. It seems like he will surpass me soon. Hong Qi said with a smile. He could not hide the joy on his face. In that case, you can be at ease and reincarnate into the world, right? The Jiu-Mo sword looked at Hong Qi and asked, Yes, the rebirth realm is more special than any other realm. It's the beginning of rebirth. It's a leap from a mortal to an immortal. I really have to prepare to reincarnate into the world. Hong Qi smiled. His cultivation had recovered very smoothly. He estimated that he would be able to reach the rebirth realm soon. At that time, he would not be able to take care of Ling Xiao for a while. This was also the reason why he did not want to see Ling Xiao before. Now that he saw his grandson's cultivation improve so quickly, he did not have to worry about Ling Xiao being bullied in the future. They were happy, but the Tianhai Saint Institution's higher-ups and the Crown Princess did not look so happy. Not only did Ling Xiao kill the Tianhai Saint Institution's people, but he also killed Wu Qinhuang in front of them. This person was truly audacious, and his strength had risen so quickly. Would they really be able to control him in the future? Lawless also narrowed his eyes and looked at Ling Xiao for a while. He felt very conflicted. After a long time, he raised his hand and signaled for everyone to stop talking. He said loudly, "The remaining 78 people in the Purgatory Blood Battle are the participants in the second round of the treasure hunt. Those who didn't benefit from the first battle would still have a chance in the second battle. Therefore, those with bad luck need not feel discouraged. You will be given 1 day and 1 night to rest. Make sure to recover your energy and gather in front of the myriad lightning desolate ground, the myriad devil graveyard. That was where the second battle would take place. Disperse." Lawless waved his hand, and a spinning halo appeared in the air. He stepped into it and disappeared. Now that he was in a hurry to return to the Black Tortoise Temple to report the situation of the Purgatory Blood Battle, he had to mention Ling Xiao again. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful aura soared into the sky. Tyranny Heavenly Ocean slowly opened his eyes. The terrifying aura on his body became even more intense. One could even feel the aura of the Black Wind Canyon mixed in. He obtained the Black Wind King's inherited memories. Ling Xiao was all too familiar with this aura, because he had inherited the legacy memories of the god of slaughter White Blade. He was naturally familiar with the aura of the 6 traitorous human immortals. "Your Highness Crown Prince, Ling Xiao killed Wu Qin Wang." The Crown Princess looked at Tyranny Tianhai and said excitedly, "I got it." Tyranny Tianhai glanced at the liquor demon sword in the distance. If the liquor demon's sword wasn't here, he would have attacked Ling Xiao at all costs. It wasn't because Ling Xiao didn't give him face and killed the sacred sword. It wasn't because Ling Xiao killed Wu Qinwang. It was because he felt the pressure from Ling Xiao. If he didn't get rid of this person, there would be endless trouble in the future. Let's go. He didn't look back and flew into the sky. Killing Ling Xiao could be done in the white tiger meat. There was no need to do it now. Ling Xiao, you better not let me meet you in the treasure hunt, or you'll definitely die. The Crown Princess stomped her feet and chased after him. 100-eyed demon monarch Wu Long also glanced at Ling Xiao and said coldly, "Even if the Crown Princess can't kill you, I will. Just wait and see." With that, he also turned and left. It wasn't easy to get a day and night's rest. He had to seize the opportunity to comprehend, divine, Lord Qianzu's legacy in Black Wind Canyon. Feng Fei didn't spare Ling Xiao a glance. She seemed to be even more arrogant than Tyranny Tianhai. Even though Ling Xiao had displayed such powerful strength, such terrifying talent, and such comprehension ability, she was still very indifferent. This woman might be even scarier than Tyranny Tianhai. The others left as well. There was no need to stay here any longer. Returning to their residences and resting would be better than staying here. He watched Feng Fei's departing figure. Ling Xiao clenched his fists. With fewer people in the second battle, his situation would be even more dangerous. He had to seize the time to increase his strength. He still hadn't comprehended the last 2 moves of the Scarlet Sun sword art. He had only scratched the surface of the Death God White Blade and Imperial Heaven Huta's legacy memories. These were all things that could increase his strength in the shortest amount of time. "How are you guys? Is everyone all right?" Ling Xiao looked at his comrades. These people had different opportunities. Mou, Zhu Xiaocong, Jiluoyu, and Feng Minglian didn't have high innate talent and comprehension. They only received a few minor inheritances that increased their strength. Still, it was good enough that they survived. Cold Plum's situation was better than the other 4. She received a few mid-level inheritances, which was acceptable. Thanks to Ling Xiao's help, Dan Feng received the Judgment Immortal's legacy. Although it didn't belong to any of the 6 legacy memories, it wasn't inferior. It was estimated that as long as Dan Feng worked hard, he would be able to improve quickly. The ones who benefited the most were Long Chen, Blue Snow, and Hong Yu. All three of them received the War Dragon King's legacy and were clearly stronger than before. Besides the Death God White Blade's legacy, the rest of the inheritances in Blackwind Canyon could be studied repeatedly. It wasn't strange that the three of them received them at the same time. Lu Lian received the Scarlet Sword General's legacy, which was Ling Zhao's Scarlet Sun sword art. However, what she comprehended was naturally different. Her innate talent and comprehension weren't inferior to Sun Lingchan and Mu Wanchuang. Hence, the benefits she received in Blackwind Canyon weren't inferior to those two. All in all, Ling Zhao's people were quite lucky this time. As for the 13 top geniuses, each of them received 1 or 2 high-level inheritances, which were the 6 major inheritances. Only Ling Xiao received 2 of the top inheritances in Blackwind Canyon. Others couldn't compare with him. Hee, congratulations! Brother Ling, seeing how that Wulong is gnashing his teeth in hatred towards you. I know that you must have obtained a great benefit. Sun Lingchan walked over with a smile. She was very close to Ling Xiao, so she didn't care about others' opinions. It's so. How about you, Miss Sun? Ling Xiao asked. Not bad. I received the Boulder King's legacy, which is also one of the 6 major inheritances. Sun Lingchan didn't hide anything from Ling Xiao. Chapter 1883. In fact, Ling Xiao had already predicted that Sun Lingchan would obtain one of the 6 great inheritances. Before entering Blackwind Canyon, all the warriors in the 16 caves had a chance to obtain one of the high-level inheritances. Of course, it was also possible for someone to stumble and fail miserably. However, it seemed that this time there really wasn't such a case. In that case, none of the geniuses in this year's competition were weak. Congratulations, Miss Sunday. Whether or not Tianhai Empire can achieve good results will depend on you. Mu Wanchuang, Lu Lian, Xiao Budian, and that Tianhai tyranny. Although I don't like Tianhai tyranny, I have to admit that they are strong. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Why is there no crown princess? Sun Lingchan asked in confusion. Because she's going to die soon. Ling Zhao's expression suddenly turned cold. He had given the crown princess a chance, but she didn't cherish it. He absolutely could not tolerate a person who wanted to kill him at every moment to continue living. He probably couldn't kill Tianhai tyranny yet. However, he still had some confidence in dealing with the crown princess. Sun Lingchan froze for a moment, then smiled. If you need anything, just let me know. I'll definitely help. Thank you. Then goodbye. Sun Lingchan also stepped into the air and left. Almost everyone who obtained the inheritances had only scratched the surface in Blackwind Canyon. At most, they had only achieved a small success. Now that they had a day and night, they probably wanted to quickly comprehend more and improve their strength. You guys should return to Songjing Temple first. Senior Liquor Demon Sword and my grandfather are guarding there. It's safer to cultivate there. Ling Xiao looked at Dan Feng and the others and said, What about you, Master? Cold Plum asked. Me. I'm going to stay in Myriad Thunder Extreme Ground. Because the memories I obtained are a bit special, I have to stay near Blackwind Canyon to get more benefits. Ling Xiao replied. Although he had been teleported out of Blackwind Canyon, it didn't mean that he couldn't go back in. He believed that if he returned to Blackwind Canyon to cultivate, the effects would be better. Big Brother Ling, you have to be careful. Those people have been watching you. Long Chen pointed at the martial artists of the Tianhai Sacred Academy and said, I just heard that during the Purgatory Blood Battle, they actually tried to kill Old Master Hong and Senior Wine Demon Sword. They even cursed a lot of unpleasant words. In the end, Senior Liquor Demon Sword killed many people. Ling Xiao looked at the people of the Tianhai Sacred Institute and said coldly, Seeing that you guys are pitiful, I don't plan to kill you all, but I hope that you guys can take care of yourselves. Otherwise, the Tianhai Sacred Institute will be removed from the White Tiger continent from now on. Bastard, aren't you just relying on the might of the demonic liquor sword to intimidate others? How dare you look down on our Tianhai Academy? The vice headmaster of the Tianhai Sacred Academy, heretical wind demon, glared at Ling Xiao and roared in anger. So what if you're trying to intimidate others? If you don't have the ability, then just cower. Ling Xiao looked at heretical wind demon with contempt and sneered. If you have the ability, then come and kill me. If you don't, then don't try to scare me. Heretical wind demon's cultivation wasn't weak. He was a half-step rebirth realm expert. Ling Xiao still had some difficulties facing him now. However, heretical wind demon would probably stop here for the rest of his life. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, still had a chance to continue improving his cultivation. This was his advantage. At the very least, even without the help of the demonic liquor sword, he wouldn't be killed by heretical wind demon. Therefore, he had the confidence to face this old man. Heretical wind demon was so angry that his face turned red. However, with the demonic liquor sword, he didn't dare to attack. Even if he had endless anger in his heart, he had to hold it in. Ling Xiao entered Black Wind Canyon first. The demonic liquor sword and Hong Qi escorted the others back to the Songjing Temple to cultivate. Ling Xiao was actually the least worried about himself. Even if he couldn't deal with the enemy now, as long as the opponent wasn't a rebirth realm expert, he would have a chance to survive. Moreover, the probability of this was very high, especially after comprehending the inheritance memories of the Imperial Heaven Hutu. His mystic world body had become extremely powerful. It was really not that easy for anyone to injure him. At this time, the sky had yet to turn completely dark. However, Black Wind Canyon was once again enveloped by black wind. But what was interesting was that Ling Xiao was actually no longer restricted by the black wind when he stepped into this Black Wind Canyon. The way he saw it, that black wind was likely an opportunity left behind by the human king. Even the 6 great inheritances and the 2 great hidden peak inheritances were likely deliberately left behind by the human king. Otherwise, who could set it up so exquisitely? After all, this myriad lightning extreme place was the masterpiece of the human king. He already obtained 2 great peak inheritances now, fulfilling the human king's expectations. The black wind naturally no longer had any effect. He even suspected that the purgatory blood battle might not be able to be carried out here in the future. However, this had nothing to do with him. After entering Black Wind Canyon, Ling Xiao found the Sword Immortal Tomb and started comprehending the General Scarlet Sword's inheritance. To be precise, after the 5 moves of the Scarlet Sun sword art merged, it would be the complete General Scarlet Sword's inheritance. Lu Lian was the same as him, obtaining the same 5 memory medals and also comprehending the General Scarlet Sword's inheritance. It was just that the same person, the things comprehended were naturally different. From Ling Xiao's point of view, General Scarlet Sword had 2 great ultimate skills. One was the fast and slow sword intent. The other was the Scarlet Sun sword intent. The fast and slow sword intent was the essence of the first 3 moves of the Scarlet Sun sword art. Dawn on the horizon, fast and slow combination. Scarlet Sun flash, fast to the limit. Scarlet Sun vortex, slow to the limit. The last 2 moves were the essence of the Scarlet Sun sword intent. The 4th move was a Scarlet Red long sword, which was also General Scarlet Sword's origin sword, Scarlet Blood Sword. The Scarlet Long Sword was born in the blood pool. Once released, it would be like a scarlet sun, able to instantly roast the enemy dry up. All the blood energy would be absorbed into the Scarlet Blood Sword. This was also the origin of the Scarlet Long Sword. The 5th move was General Scarlet Sword's strongest ultimate skill. It merged the Scarlet Sun sword intent and the fast and slow sword intent, as well as his lifelong ultimate skill. It was also a sword, the Scarlet Sun sword. Once this sword appeared, heaven and earth would change color, turning the sky into a blood-red color. The enemy might not even be able to detect anything and would have already died under the terrifying Scarlet Sun, Sword Chi. General Scarlet, Sword, practiced the sword all his life and was extremely powerful, second only to the immemorial 12 human immortals. In terms of sword arts and sword intent, he only lost to 2 people. One was the killing god Byron, and the other was the human king. The 6 great inheritances were very powerful. Ling Xiao didn't touch the killing god by Ren's inherited memories for the time being, because he felt that by Ren's blood bone was forming a strange connection with his martial soul. Although he didn't know whether this connection was good or bad, he didn't want to stop it. Anyway, General Scarlet, Sword's inheritance alone, was enough for him to study for a long time. The first 3 moves focused on comprehending the fast and slow sword intent. Ling Xiao had already grasped the essence, and if he wanted to increase his proficiency, he could only do it in real combat. As for the last 2 moves, they were more difficult to comprehend than the first 2, because the last 2 moves not only merged the fast and slow sword intent, but also the Scarlet Sun sword intent. These were the 2 origin swords that General Scarlet Sword had comprehended, and he needed to study them carefully. Chapter 1884. It was already late at night, and Ling Xiao was still sitting cross-legged in the Sword Immortal Tomb. Above his head there was a scarlet red sword. A terrifying sword chi enveloped his entire body. The surrounding rocks were actually completely flattened by this invisible sword chi. At this moment, Ling Xiao was immersed in the scarlet blood sword of General Scarlet Sword. The comprehension of the 4th move of the Scarlet Sun sword art had already lasted for almost 2 hours. However, the deeper he comprehended, the more he discovered its mystical aspects. In his world, it was as if there was only him and the scarlet red sword left. Return! Abruptly, Ling Xiao opened his eyes. The crimson long sword pierced into his body and then disappeared. The origin sword was not a real sword. It was a sword-shaped attack condensed from the origin energy. The energy and the sword intent completely merged into one. It would only appear when using a move. At that moment, Ling Xiao's divine radiant sword would transform into the scarlet blood sword and then produce an unbelievable effect. The comprehension of the scarlet blood sword has ended. Next, it should be the blood sun sword. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and closed his eyes again. The blood sun sword was stronger than the scarlet blood sword and also harder to comprehend. Therefore, Ling Xiao was not willing to waste time. The blood sun sword was General Scarlet Sword's strongest skill in his life. Ling Xiao was very clear that with his current strength, it would be difficult to cultivate it to the highest level. However, as long as he could comprehend a little, it would be able to greatly increase his battle strength. With his eyes closed, his body seemed to float in the universe. In this universe, there was nothing else. There was only a blood sun sword that was shining with a scarlet light hanging upside down there. The sword did not move, but a powerful sword intent was released. Ling Xiao was able to comprehend General Scarlet Sword's life from the sword intent. Although this was a judgment immortal, his martial arts path was very powerful. Inside the Sword Immortal Tomb, a scarlet light flashed around Ling Xiao's body. A strange sword intent began to spread in all directions. This sword intent was blazing hot and murderous. The surrounding rocks and plants were not cut off, but directly melted. The essence of the red sun sword essence was heat. This was similar to the divine radiant sword. However, the blood sun sword was definitely not just hot. Within its heat was an extremely powerful killing intent. There was even a strong smell of blood. Sometimes, light did not mean holiness. Perhaps it was even bloodier than darkness. Ling Xiao felt as if he could see the battle between General Scarlet Sword and the ancient beasts on the primordial battlefield. He roared furiously and a blood sun sword appeared above his head. In that instant, the blood sun sword released a blood-red light that illuminated the entire land. Then, his enemies all fell into a pool of blood. The terrifying smell of blood didn't leave. Instead, it fused with the bloody sun sword and was absorbed by it, causing the bloody sun sword to become even more powerful. I'm afraid that General Scarlet Sword has long been in cahoots with the heavenly demon. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to cultivate such an evil sword technique. Ling Xiao thought to himself. However, he did not care if the sword technique was evil or not. To him, there was no clear dividing line between good and evil. Just like light and shadow, they would always seep into each other. Only when there was light would there be shadow. Only when there was shadow could the magic of light be reflected. Of course, such an evil sword technique was not elegant. To Ling Xiao, it was just a means to increase his strength. It was not his main cultivation direction. His cultivation direction had always followed the guidance of the human king, which was to first complete the 15 stages of the light and shadow profound meaning. Now he had only completed the 12th stage. He was still 3 steps away from completing it, but they were also the most difficult 3 steps. If not for the fact that it was too difficult, he would not have diverted his attention to other martial arts. Now that he needed a powerful battle strength, he had to increase his own battle techniques. The Red Sun sword technique was a great supplement to the Divine Radiant Sword. The inheritance of the Imperial Heaven-Earth Hutu could increase his body's battle strength to the greatest extent. As for the inheritance of the Killing God White Blade, he was prepared to fuse it into the light and shadow profound, meaning to prepare for the next step. The night was silent, but it was not quiet. In the dark Black Wind Canyon, there were countless figures scurrying around. The Purgatory Blood Battle assessment had already ended. Therefore, as long as one met the requirements, they could enter to search for opportunities. However, these figures seemed to have something in common. All of them wore pitch-black cloaks with a ferocious, heavenly demon pattern on them. If someone saw it, they would definitely recognize that it was the symbol of the heavenly demon cult. The heavenly demon cult had always acted strangely. It was one of the most mysterious sects on the White Tiger mainland. Their strength had never been known to outsiders. Even Ling Xiao only knew that the headquarters of the heavenly demon cult was located at the Demon Mountain. To put it bluntly, he was lucky to be able to escape that time because the heavenly demon cult did not treat him as a real threat. Otherwise, the people who went to kill him would be even stronger. He heard from Prince Yin that a martial artist at the 14th level of the Yin-Yang realm did not have a high status in the heavenly demon cult. It could even be said that they were only outer disciples. As for the heavenly demon cult leader, it was very likely that he was in the midst of reincarnation. Others did not dare to provoke the Black Tortoise Temple, but the heavenly demon cult did not seem to be afraid. Tonight, they came to Black Wind Canyon for 2 purposes. One was to steal all the inheritances in Black Wind Canyon. The other was to kill Ling Xiao. This was because someone had personally witnessed Ling Xiao entering Black Wind Canyon to cultivate. The short figure was the chief commander of the operation this time. At that moment, he was looking coldly at the temple where Sir God Qian Zu's inheritance was. He waved his hand lightly, and immediately a few figures scuttled out. After a while, these people used some unknown method and carried out a gigantic 1,000-legged insect fossil from the temple. The 1,000-legged insect fossil was Sir God Qian Zu's inheritance. If one wanted to obtain his inheritance and memory, they could only do so through the fossil. The short figure glanced at the 1,000-legged insect fossil and waved his hand. A tiny insect flew out from his hand and entered the fossil. After a while, the insect flew out again. There were strange inscriptions on it. "Ha ha ha! I will take all the inheritances that all of you fought so hard for." The short figure sneered and kept the insect in his body. At that moment, his abilities obviously increased by a level. "Who is it?" Suddenly, he looked into the distance. It was a graceful figure that was currently flying over. As expected, the heavenly demon cult's methods are all evil. But I'm very curious. How did you manage to raise such a terrifying insect in such a small body? The newcomer didn't seem to mind the heavenly demon cult members looking at her. Instead, she began to talk to herself. The heavenly demon cult members were about to attack when the short figure stopped them. That person stared at the woman and said, "Feng Fei, you want to stop me?" The newcomer was the most outstanding of the 13 top geniuses, Feng Fei. Chapter 1885. Are you going to stop me? The short figure asked coldly. I'm not interested in that. A legacy like yours won't be able to reach the level of elegance. It's not as good as my eyes. Feng Fei said mildly. Actually, I'm more interested in your true identity. My true identity? Haven't you always known? I'm the Sky Devil cult's Xiao Budian, one of the 7 little saints of the Tianhai Empire. The short figure chuckled. You're not. Feng Fei smiled, then continued to walk forward. Don't worry, I'm not interested in what you're doing. I only came here to find something. So speaking, her figure had already disappeared into the distance. Xiao Budian stared fixedly at Feng Fei's departing figure and suddenly exhaled. This woman is truly frightening. But once I obtain all 6 inheritances, even if you want to stop me from taking first place, don't think you'll have an easy time. Keep moving. You'll split into teams and steal the remaining 5 inheritances. My little ones will help you. He turned and waved his hand, and the 5 blood-red insects followed the sky demon cultists towards the 5 great legacies. Then he flew towards the underground palace, where Ling Xiao had obtained the imperial heaven Hutu's inheritance. That underground palace was a new discovery. None of the 6 great inheritances had been here before, but judging from the strength Ling Xiao had displayed, there might be something worth paying attention to within the palace. There might even be inheritances stronger than the 6 great inheritances. At the same time, the Sky Devil cult members had already begun to move. The Boulder King, Black Wind King, Green Mang King, War Dragon King, and General Scarlet Sword's inheritances were all visited by these thieves. Aside from the Sword Immortal Tomb, where General Scarlet Sword was, the Sky Devil cult members moved smoothly in the other places. With the help of the blood-red insects and the fact that no one was cultivating in those 4 places, there were no obstacles. Naturally, they wouldn't encounter any trouble. However, in the Sword Immortal Tomb, they encountered unexpected trouble. The members of the Heavenly Demon Cult knew that Ling Xiao was cultivating in Black Wind Canyon, but they did not know where exactly Ling Xiao was. A Heavenly Demon Cult martial artist entered the Sword Immortal Tomb to investigate the situation. Suddenly, he saw Ling Xiao sitting there with his eyes closed. A ferocious sneer appeared on his face. He naturally knew Ling Xiao, since he was an enemy of the Heavenly Demon Cult. He believed that if he could kill Ling Xiao here, or even capture Ling Xiao alive, his position in the Sky Demon Cult would definitely rise as a result. He cautiously approached Ling Xiao, and a pitch-black dagger appeared in his hand. He then stabbed it towards Ling Xiao's back. The dagger was black, not because it was cool, but because this color was more suitable for hiding in the dark. Just like how they were all dressed in black. However, this stab was exchanged with a shrill scream. The Heavenly Demon Cult martial artist looked at his right hand that was bleeding profusely, unable to believe the reality before his eyes. He was still 3 meters away from Ling Xiao, but he was attacked by an unknown sword aura. The sword chi was so powerful that it cut off his palm in an instant. The Heavenly Demon Cult martial artist clutched at his heart, feeling extremely terrified. He turned and fled outside, hoping that his teammates could come in to deal with Ling Xiao. However, the moment he turned, Ling Xiao's closed eyes slowly opened a slit. At that moment, a terrifying sword aura was released from his body, directly enveloping the heavenly demon cult martial artist. The blood-red light instantly destroyed the heavenly demon cult martial artist. There was only a strong smell of blood left in the air. The smell of blood was absorbed by the bloody sun soared above Ling Xiao's head, and all of it was poured into it. The bloody sun sword was clearly stronger. Ling Xiao closed his eyes again, as if nothing had happened. Perhaps to him, the attack just now was just a subconscious defense, as if he had killed a mosquito that had accidentally entered a spider's web. The sword immortal mound instantly returned to normal, and the bloody sun sword returned to Ling Xiao's body. Only a faint red light continued to flicker on his body, emitting a strange and evil aura. The heavenly demon cult martial artists guarding outside the sword immortal mound were stunned. "Did you hear the scream just now?" The other three nodded. "Let's go in and take a look, but don't split up. If I'm not wrong, Ling Xiao should be cultivating in the sword immortal mound." The leader of the group analyzed. "Should we send a signal to the little guy?" One of them asked. "Are you stupid? The little guy is comprehending the inheritance in the underground palace. Where would he have the time to come here? Let's not rely on him for everything. Ling Xiao is just one person. Are the four of us not a match for him?" The leader scolded. "Yes." The other three thought about it and agreed. The three of them were 15th level Yin-Yang realm experts. Although Ling Xiao could kill the 12th level Yin-Yang realm martial prince, he could also kill their 14th level Yin-Yang realm companion. However, he might not be a match for the three of them. Sometimes, greed could really cost one's life. This saying was not false at all. The leader's words sounded nice, as he did not want to disturb the little guy. But deep down, he wanted to take the opportunity to take Ling Xiao's life and contribute greatly to the heavenly demon cult. That way, his position in the heavenly demon cult might not be inferior to the little guy. The little guy had not joined the heavenly demon cult for long, but his talent was shocking. He did not want to be ordered around by a child like that. The four of them reached a consensus and stepped into the sword immortal mound at the same time. Soon, they saw Ling Xiao cultivating there. Ling Xiao was still sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, as if he did not notice the four of them at all. The corpses of their companions were nowhere to be seen. There was not even the slightest smell of blood in the air, which made them wonder if someone had really died here before. Ling Xiao's body released a faint red light. However, martial artists with good eyesight would notice that there was a protective shield formed by invisible sword qi within 3 meters of him. The person who ambushed him did not notice the sword qi shield and had his hand cut off. In the end, he was killed by Ling Xiao. "Don't get close to him first." "Let me try." The leading cultivator took out a thunderbolt bomb from his storage ring. The heavenly demon cult really had a lot of thunderbolt bullets. The ones that Dan Feng had were all obtained by Ling Xiao from the heavenly demon cult members and given to Dan Feng. This thunderbolt bullet was really good. Not only was it powerful in attack, it could also be used to test the enemy's traps. However, the cost of making it was not low. The heavenly demon cult used it like this, who knew how many experts they had raised to make thunderbolt bullets. The thunderbolt bullet shot through the air and entered within 3 meters of Ling Xiao. Chapter 1886. Puchi. The terrifying sword Qi instantly sliced the thunderbolt bullet into several pieces before it completely melted. The thunderbolt bullet did not even have the chance to explode. Seeing this scene, the 4 heavenly demon cult martial artists' faces turned ugly. Even the thunderbolt bullet was ineffective. It was enough to show how powerful Ling Xiao was. However, it was really hard for them to accept the fact that they couldn't kill such a prey that was just sitting there with their eyes wide open. "This beast is powerful. You go find Xiao Budian. We'll stay here and watch," the leading martial artist said. Although he wanted to make a contribution and suppress Xiao Budian, he had to admit that he was definitely not Ling Xiao's opponent. Only Xiao Budian could deal with this guy. Since you're here, why are you in such a hurry to leave? The person who was cultivating was still there. However, at the entrance, another figure stepped in. It looked exactly like the person who was cultivating. One was Ling Xiao's original body. The other was the Gemini martial soul. Ling Xiao did not move and was still cultivating. For him, comprehending the Blood Sun sword was the key. The Gemini martial soul was enough to deal with these three people. The Gemini martial soul was exactly the same as Ling Xiao in terms of appearance, character, and even every action. The only thing that was different was their strength. After all, it was only a martial soul and could not reach Ling Xiao's strength. Ling Xiao, Xiao Budian, is nearby. If you dare to kill us, he will immediately rush over. Why don't you let us go and pretend that nothing happened today? The leading martial artist looked at Ling Xiao, who was cultivating, and said while gritting his teeth, although they were afraid of Ling Xiao, they would still risk their lives if they had to fight to the death. No one wanted to die. Pretend that nothing happened. The one who spoke was the Gemini martial soul. You tried to attack me. I can't pretend that nothing happened unless you tell me why you came to Black Wind Canyon. Ling Xiao did not have to kill these four people. Anyway, they were not a threat to him. It would be better if he could find out some secrets from them. The four of them had ugly expressions. The leader shook his head and said, "That's impossible. You don't understand the heavenly demon cult at all. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't seek death if you're not dead. Everyone in Black Wind Canyon is from the heavenly demon cult. Even if you attack us, you won't be able to instantly kill us. As long as we have the slightest chance, we can summon a large number of reinforcements. Back then, on the Demon Mountain, the Sky Demon cult had encircled me and almost killed me. I haven't forgotten that grudge even to this day. Now that you've delivered yourselves to my doorstep, you dare to threaten me with the Sky Demon cult? Do you have a death wish?" The Gemini martial spirit's face was incomparably gloomy. A terrifying murderous aura was released, causing the four people's faces to change greatly. "Boss, there's no need to talk nonsense with him. I don't believe that the four of us together can't kill him." The people of the heavenly demon cult were used to being arrogant and domineering. When had they ever suffered such grievances, and were actually looked down upon by Ling Xiao? Thus, one of them was immediately enraged. "Haha, that's more like the people of the Sky Demon cult." The Gemini martial spirit was still standing there blocking the exit. However, Ling Xiao finally opened his eyes and stood up. An even more terrifying sword qi shot out from his body, causing everyone to feel a clear cutting sensation on their skin. One of the Sky Demon cult martial artists even specially looked at his hands, thinking that he had been cut by the sword qi. "The four of you will become the first batch of sacrifices under my Blood Sun sword." Ling Xiao had successfully comprehended the Bloody Sun sword, so it was time to test its power. The four people in front of him were not weak. They were all martial artists at the 15th level of the Yin Yang realm. They were definitely qualified to be used to test the move. After saying that, a Bloody Sun sword floated above Ling Xiao's head. However, before the sword completely appeared, only the tip of the sword was revealed. A terrifying blood-red sword qi shot out like a scarlet sun. The four people's faces instantly changed. They circulated their inner strength at almost the same time in an attempt to block the terrifying sword qi. However, the sword light was too fast. The Bloody Sun sword appeared slowly, but the sword light was extraordinarily fast. It corresponded with the essence of the fast and slow sword essence. Before the four people finished accumulating their inner strength, they were penetrated by the blood-red sword light before they could attack. Then, they quickly melted and evaporated. Only the thick smell of blood flowed into the Bloody Sun sword, which only revealed its tip, causing the Bloody Sun sword's power to increase once again. Ling Xiao withdrew the Bloody Sun sword. His eyes were filled with shock. The inheritance of General Scarlet's sword was already so terrifying. How terrifying would Byron, who is several times stronger than General Scarlet's sword, be? It was a pity that there was not enough time. Otherwise, he would really want to practice properly. It's early in the morning. Let's go back and rest. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and glanced at the depths of the Sword Immortal Tomb. Then he walked out. Dozens of Sky Demon cult members had already gathered outside the Sword Immortal Tomb. The weakest among them was at the 14th level of the Yin-Yang realm, while the strongest was at the 16th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Ling Xiao was shocked. The Sky Demon cult was so powerful. They were much more powerful than the 70-odd people who surrounded him on Demon Mountain. Fortunately, there was only one 16th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Otherwise, it would be difficult to deal with them. Evil demonic chi spread outside the Sword Immortal Tomb. The Sky Demon cult martial artists had completely sealed off the area. It seemed like they did not intend to give Ling Xiao a chance to escape. Back then in the Devil Mountain, I allowed you to escape. Today, I want to see where you can run to. The Sky Demon cult martial artist, leading the group, was at the 16th level of the Yin-Yang realm. The demonic chi in his body was extremely terrifying. An ordinary 16th level Yin-Yang realm martial artist was probably no match for him. However, Ling Xiao only glanced at them indifferently. Then his figure suddenly flashed and disappeared before everyone's eyes. Don't let that guy escape. The Sky Demon cult martial artists did not expect that they could not stop Ling Xiao even after sealing off the area with demonic chi. When everyone wanted to chase after him, they realized that Ling Xiao had appeared from another location. Ha ha ha, you can't escape. The seal of demonic chi is not something you can resist. The Sky Demon cult martial artists laughed loudly. Can't escape? I just set up a formation on the way so that all of you monsters will die here. Ling Xiao shrugged. The other party did not want him to escape, but he did not want them to escape either. You don't even know how to brag. The Sky Demon cult martial artist, leading the group, said in disdain. Haha, then you can try. See if you can get out. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Go and try. Although the Sky Demon cult martial artist, leading the group, did not believe Ling Xiao, he still ordered his subordinate to try. Yes, sir. The person received the order and rushed outside. However, he had only taken a dozen steps when a bolt of lightning suddenly appeared and blasted him into pieces. Even his corpse could not be found. Chapter 1887. What? Seeing their fellow sect members being blasted into pieces by the raging lightning. The dozens of heavenly demon cult martial artists were terrified. What kind of array was this? It was so powerful. Seeing how shocked you are, I'll do a good deed and tell you. This is called Myriad Lightning Immortal Slaying Array, Replica. It was created from the array of the Myriad Lightning Desolate Grounds. Although its power is not even 1/10,000th of the Myriad Lightning Immortal Slaying Array laid down by a human king, it's enough to kill you all. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Good. Very good. Your array is not bad. But do you really think you can kill all 33 of us by yourself? The heavenly demon cult martial artists were not afraid. Since they could not leave, they would kill Ling Xiao and the array would naturally be broken. After all, arrays laid down by array refining stones all had such a flaw. As long as the person who laid the array died, the array would break by itself. Killing you all is as easy as slaughtering dogs and chickens. After Ling Xiao finished speaking, he raised his hand and a divine light sword appeared in his right hand. These people were good targets for him to use to increase the proficiency of the Red Sun sword art. With the divine light sword in hand, Ling Xiao waved at them. Come, your lives are in your own hands. If you want to live, fight for it. Go to hell. One of them roared, and a terrifying demonic aura soared into the sky. A heavenly demon phantom appeared behind him. After that, The gigantic, demonic claw grabbed towards Ling Xiao. If it were anyone else, they would have already lost their will to fight due to fear. However, Ling Xiao had the immemorial heavenly demon fighting spirit. How could he be afraid of a mere heavenly demon phantom? This phantom was probably a new martial soul created by the heavenly demon cult. The level of technology was quite impressive, but it was a pity that it was unorthodox. Scram! Ling Xiao sneered. He waved the divine light, sword in his hand, and a scarlet sun appeared behind him. Third form of the red sun sword art. Scarlet sun vortex. The divine light sword slowly moved around Ling Xiao's body. That person seemed to be sucked in by the terrifying vortex. His body was completely out of his control and crashed into the sword. Whoosh! The moment his body touched the divine sword of light, the flames ignited and quickly spread throughout his body. The heavenly fiend cult warriors attempted to circulate their inner strength to escape the vortex's devouring, but it was useless. He was horrified to find that he had completely lost control of his own body. No, the heavenly demon cult martial artist screamed miserably. The rest of the people stared at this scene, not daring to make any movements. They could only watch as their fellow disciples were burned alive by the raging flames, leaving not even a trace behind. I finally reached the proficiency level for the third style. Ling Xiao didn't even glance at those heavenly demon cult martial artists who wanted nothing more than to swallow him whole. He only felt his own powerful sword move and smiled faintly. He had mastered the first 3 moves of the Crimson Sun sword art. Generally speaking, martial arts had 5 stages of progression. The first stage was called Small Success, which meant that one could unleash 30% of the martial arts power. The second stage was called Proficiency, which meant that one could display 60% of the martial arts power. The third stage was called Large Success, which meant that one could display 90% of the martial arts power. The fourth stage was called Great Perfection, which meant that one could perfectly display the martial arts power. The fifth stage was Perfection, which meant that the martial art at this stage had no flaws and was flawless. Its power could even be increased by several times, which was extremely terrifying. Of course, if one had to say that there was still a stage before Small Success, it would be superficial understanding. Ling Xiao's current understanding of the last 2 moves of the Crimson Sun sword art was only superficial. After all, this was the life's ultimate skill of the Crimson Sword General, which was at the worldly immortal realm. How could it be so easy to learn? Just a superficial understanding was enough to stand out among martial artists of the same level. The 33 heavenly demon cult martial artists had yet to cause any harm to Ling Xiao, but one of them had already died under Ling Xiao's sword. This made them incomparably angry. Brat, today we will definitely suck your soul realm dry and refine you into our puppet. The leader of the heavenly demon cult martial artists let out a sinister voice, then waved his hand and said, "There's no need to give him a chance. Everyone attack together. Use your demonic chi to extract his soul and turn him into a living corpse." As soon as his voice fell, the 31 heavenly demon cult martial artists charged at Ling Xiao at the same time. Each of them released a terrifying demonic chi, and a heavenly demon phantom appeared behind each of them. The terrifying demonic chi formed a gigantic heavenly demon phantom in the sky. It opened its mouth and wanted to devour Ling Xiao's soul. Your heavenly demon cult is really sad. You're destined to become nourishment for my primordial heavenly demon fighting intent. Ling Xiao looked at the gigantic heavenly demon phantom and lightly smiled. To him, the primordial heavenly demon fighting intent wasn't strong enough. He wanted to condense this fighting intent into the primordial heavenly demon martial soul. Only the martial soul could be perfectly compatible with the martial artist. It was the peak form of the fighting intent. And to evolve the primordial heavenly demon fighting intent into the primordial heavenly demon martial soul, He needed to constantly absorb demonic chi. The fastest way was naturally to absorb it from the bodies of these heavenly demon cult martial artists. His divine radiance sword gradually turned scarlet red. The terrifying blood-red light dyed the space around Ling Xiao blood red. A strong smell of blood spread in the air. Ling Xiao lightly smiled and said, "Thank you for helping me test this move. This is a sword skill that I comprehended from the inherited memories of General Scarlet Sword. Whoever can survive this sword skill, I guarantee that I won't kill them." Although he was smiling, his smile was somewhat sinister, causing people to shudder. The fourth move of the Scarlet Sun sword art, Scarlet Blood Sword. This was a sword that could absorb blood and could turn a person into a dried corpse. It had to be said that it was very evil, but Ling Xiao didn't feel that there was anything wrong with using it to deal with enemies. The terrifying smell of blood had already completely covered the demonic chi of the heavenly demon cult martial artists. The entire inside of the myriad lightning immortal punishing array had practically become a sea of blood. Just smelling the air was enough to make people's scalps numb and their backs turn cold. They were terrified. This was the terrifying part of the Scarlet Blood Sword. Even though Ling Xiao's cultivation didn't have an obvious breakthrough after the Purgatory blood battle, because he comprehended the inherited memories of Imperial Heaven Earth Hutu, killing God by Rin and General Scarlet Sword, his soul force became incomparably powerful. And the most direct manifestation of soul force in sword skills was sword intent. The terrifying sword intent was released as if it was real. Many people even saw illusions because of it. They saw the scene before they died. No. Finally, someone broke down because of this terrifying sword intent. He turned around and fled outside. The terrifying lightning became the funeral that ended his life. The originally huge heavenly demon phantom kept shaking because of one less person. Even more people felt uneasy and lost their heads out of fear. Chapter 1888. Don't be afraid. The leading heavenly demon cult martial artist originally planned to sneak an attack on Ling Xiao, but when he saw the situation, he had no choice but to join in the formation of the heavenly demon apparition. At least he managed to maintain the gigantic heavenly demon apparition. However, after a short while, the heavenly demon apparition was destroyed by the terrifying sword essence storm. Not a single trace of it was left behind. The ground was a mess. The heavenly demon cult martial artists all fell to the ground, their faces deathly pale. They had lost in the battle of soul power, and they had lost completely. 31 of them were not as strong as one person's willpower. How can this guy have such terrifying sword essence? What cultivation realm is he at? What level is he at? Everyone was confused. Although Ling Xiao looked like he was only at the 7th level of Yin Yang realm, no one believed it. Ling Xiao was able to kill the Wu King in an instant, which proved that his cultivation was at least at the 12th level of Yin Yang realm. Even so, this guy should not be so powerful. Since you want to trap and kill me, I'll send you to your deaths. The thick smell of blood surged towards the heavenly demon cult martial artists like a tsunami. The divine sword of light in Ling Xiao's hand had completely transformed into the crimson blood sword. All the heavenly demon cult martial artists could feel their chi and blood leaving their bodies, being torn apart and pulled by something, surging towards the sword. Just the terrifying aura alone was enough to take their lives, not to mention the terrifying sword essence and sword gleam. Crimson blood sword, kill! Ling Xiao spat out a word coldly, as though he was announcing the death penalty for the 31 heavenly demon cult martial artists. Then, Ling Xiao's body disappeared from the spot and transformed into a brilliant crimson sword gleam. Ah! The first scream was heard. The heavenly demon cult martial artist, who was touched by the crimson blood sword, immediately withered and lost all his blood. A martial artist's blood was the foundation and the most important thing. Without blood, One was a dead person, a living corpse. The heavenly demon cult martial artists wanted to turn Ling Xiao into a living corpse, but they never expected that they would be turned into living corpses by Ling Xiao first. The terrifying sword light was as fast as lightning, combined with Ling Xiao's astonishing, swift light god traversal. It was simply like a blood-red lightning bolt. In an instant, 7 or 8 heavenly demon cult martial artists had already been slaughtered. The rest of the people looked at the terrifying blood-red lightning in horror, their hearts filled with despair and fear. Death was actually so close to them. This was something they had never imagined. They were from the heavenly demon cult. They had come here to kill Ling Xiao, but instead of killing Ling Xiao, they had been killed. Run! A few of the heavenly demon cult martial artists who were relatively strong forgot about the existence of the myriad thunderbolts' immortal slaughtering array and turned to flee outside. Perhaps in their opinion, dying under the lightning and turning into ashes was better than being struck by this terrifying blood-red lightning. But they were too slow. In other words, Ling Xiao's sword was simply too fast. In the blink of an eye, the 31 people had all died under the blood-red lightning sword light. Ling Xiao stood there with the scarlet blood sword in hand, watching as all the heavenly demon cult martial artists began to wither and pour their blood into the scarlet blood sword. This scarlet blood sword was like a vicious beast that had developed some kind of consciousness. But this consciousness was completely suppressed by Ling Xiao's soul strength. It did not dare resist and could only obey. No, devil, you are the true devil. Terrified screams rang out in the pitch-black night. The heavenly demon cult martial artists had always been proud of being strange, vicious, and evil. They felt that they were cruel enough and terrifying enough. When martial artists saw them, they would turn pale with fright. But after encountering Ling Xiao today, they realized what true terror was. The person in front of them was not a human. He was a devil, a true evil path cultivator. Perhaps an instant death was a kind of happiness to them. But now they had to face death, the pain and torment of having their blood sucked dry. They thought of the martial artists they had tortured to death. Did those people feel the same? Perhaps this was retribution. What was going on? There were still many martial artists cultivating around Black Wind Canyon. They all heard the mournful screams and the evil aura that soared into the sky. This aura made their scalps go numb and their bodies tremble. They did not know what had happened in Black Wind Canyon, nor did they dare to go down to see. Only the heavenly demon cult martial artists hurried to the scene of the incident, because they could tell that the screams came from their fellow disciples. Someone actually dared to attack their fellow disciples in Black Wind Canyon. This was simply unforgivable. Outside the underground palace, Xiao Budian had already been blasted out by that strange power more than once. He was preparing to break in again when he suddenly heard the mournful screams. His expression turned cold as he looked at the palace with unwillingness. Then he flew in the direction of the Sword Immortal's mound. No matter who it was, he would never let anyone who dared to hurt the heavenly demon cult martial artist go. Even if that person was Feng Fei. Ling Xiao looked at the dried corpses on the ground and suddenly knitted his brows. Xiao Budian's aura was getting closer and closer. He did not want to fight with this person right now, just like how he did not want to fight with Tianhai Tyranny, Feng Fei, or Lei Lai. It's time to go. He put away scarlet blood and turned into a black shadow that disappeared into the endless darkness of Black Wind Canyon. Ling Xiao had just left when Xiao Budian arrived with his men. Seeing the 30 or so dried corpses, even the self-proclaimed evil heavenly demon cult members felt a chill run down their spines. A bone-chilling cold rose from their hearts. These deaths were truly too miserable. It looked like the work of someone from the evil Tao. Just who was it that dared to make an enemy of their heavenly demon cult? Do you know who did it? Xiao Budian's voice was somewhat cold. These people were death soldiers that he had raised to serve him. Moreover, they were all elites. They had done many things for him, but now more than 30 of them had died. How could he have a good expression? Ling Xiao. There was a dried corpse on the ground that was still alive. He held his breath so that he could tell Xiao Budian this person's name so that Xiao Budian could take revenge for him. After speaking, he lost all signs of life. Ling Xiao. Xiao Budian furrowed his brows. Very good, very good. Between you and me, there was an old grudge to begin with. Now let's settle it all together. No one knew what kind of old grudge Xiao Budian had with Ling Xiao, but they knew that Ling Xiao was dead for sure now that Xiao Budian had set his sights on him. Xiao Budian was a peerless genius of the heavenly demon cult. Aside from that cult leader, his innate talent and perception were second to none. Although he hadn't joined the heavenly demon cult for long, he was being groomed as the next successor. Now that so many of his death soldiers had died, if he couldn't give the sect a good explanation, his position in the sect would be bleak in the future. Thus, he had to kill Ling Xiao. Chapter 1889. A day and night of rest was simply too short. For many cultivators, it would be difficult for them to even recover from their injuries. However, the geniuses participating in the White Tiger meet all had powerful backing. For the second treasure hunt that was about to begin, all of them looked as lively as dragons and tigers. They had clearly gone through special treatment. This also made the second battle even more suspenseful. After all, if there were too many injuries, it would affect the excitement of the battle. The Myriad Demon Graveyard was located in the evilest and darkest region of the Myriad Lightning Extreme Ground. Back then, the heavenly demons lured the adjudicators to join them, thus triggering a great war between the heavenly demons and the sacred dynasty. The adjudicators tangled with tens of thousands of heavenly demons and the army led by the human king to fight to the death. In the end, tens of thousands of heavenly demons were buried here, forming the terrifying Myriad Demon Graveyard. The Myriad Demon Graveyard had undergone some changes over the years, and it was filled with danger. However, like Black Wind Canyon, it was also filled with opportunities. However, Black Wind Canyon was filled with inherited memories, while the Myriad Demon Graveyard was filled with large amounts of magic treasures, heavenly treasures, and miraculous elixirs. In the Myriad Demon Graveyard, there were many tombs and secret passages, and the terrain was intricate and complicated. Here, you could better avoid enemies, but you could also accidentally meet the person you didn't want to meet the most. Compared to the first battle, perhaps this treasure hunt would be even more brutal. Like the Purgatory Blood Battle, the duration of the treasure hunt was set to 6 hours. During this process, the participating cultivators had to search for as many treasures as possible. When the time was up, all the participating cultivators would be directly teleported to the thunder-shocking city's battle stage to prepare for the final battle. Of course, the prerequisite was that you were still alive. At this moment, the vicinity of the Myriad Demon Graveyard was already bustling with people coming and going. Many spectators had come here last night to wait, so that they could enjoy the more exciting battle. In the first battle, they had witnessed the bravery and talent of many genius cultivators. In this battle, not only could they see more of the genius's performance, but they could also see more treasures. It could be considered a feast for the eyes. Who would be able to enter the final battle of kings? It was really something to look forward to. From 155 people to 78 people now, how many of them would be able to enter the final battle? Who would become the top and most dazzling genius of the 3 continents in the past 10 years? This was also very interesting. There were too many questions, and the more he wanted to know, the more interested he became. When it was almost time, the participating martial artists began to arrive one after another. Last night, Tyranny Tianhai had been cultivating outside Myriad Devil Graveyard, so he and the Crown Princess were the first 2 to arrive. Even though the outside world was bustling with noise, the 2 of them didn't seem to notice it at all. They still closed their eyes tightly and focused on cultivating. If they weren't enemies, Ling Xiao would really admire these two people's dedication to martial arts. Perhaps it was this persistence that allowed these two to become the most outstanding geniuses of the Tianhai Empire, or even the entire White Tiger continent. The little guy and the people of the heavenly demon cult had also arrived early. The current Xiao Budian's aura was completely different from yesterday. After a night of action, he had obtained 5 of the 6 great inheritances in Black Wind Canyon. He became incomparably powerful, causing people to tremble. However, at this moment, the most eye-catching thing about the little guy wasn't his powerful aura, but his anger. Even unrelated people could clearly feel the terrifying killing intent emitted by Xiao Budian. He was searching for Ling Xiao's whereabouts. New grudges and old grudges would be thoroughly settled in the treasure hunt. Ling Xiao definitely couldn't be forgiven. In the crowd, he finally saw Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was still with his friends. He wasn't cultivating, but was chatting and laughing. He seemed to be in an extremely good mood. This made the little guy's expression turn even uglier. However, Ling Xiao didn't care whether he was in a good mood or not. At this moment, he didn't have the terrifying evil and baleful aura from last night. His slightly delicate face was brimming with a sunny smile as he discussed the treasure hunt with his friends. It was said that the treasure hunt could lead to a large amount of heavenly treasures, martial souls, and bloodlines. Although there was no way to prove it, since there was such a rumor, it couldn't be false. For everyone, this was a very good opportunity. Of course, since the purgatory blood battle was so dangerous, this treasure hunt naturally wouldn't be easy. However, for the 78 surviving participants, none of them had any intention of giving up. Those who survived all felt that they had the qualifications to continue living. In any case, the second battle didn't require them to kill each other. Without something like the Black Wind inscription, there was no objective requirement to kill the opponent. Although there was no guarantee that someone would kill inside, at the very least, the chances of surviving were much higher than in the first battle. In the second battle, the participants not only had to fight to pass the trial, but also for their ranking. This was because the results of the second battle would determine the opponents in the king's battle, the strongest against the weakest, and the second against the second last. In fact, everyone understood that as long as they could find a way to avoid the 13 top geniuses, they would have a chance of passing the White Tiger Meets assessment. Even if they couldn't obtain a ranking, they could still obtain a lot of benefits, and even be accepted as a disciple by the Black Warrior Temple. In any case, according to the previous rules, the Black Warrior Temple only recruited disciples once every 10 years from the White Tiger Meet. Of course, the Black Warrior Temple also had a selection process, but the conditions were much harsher, and the chances of entering the White Tiger Meet were much lower. Those who wanted to enter the White Tiger Meet would definitely put in their utmost effort to stay in the end. Ling Xiao. Suddenly, Xiao Budian shouted. Seeing that Ling Xiao was ignoring him, Xiao Budian directly shouted. His voice was like rolling thunder, causing the noisy crowd to instantly quieten down. Everyone turned to look at Xiao Budian. This child, who seemed to be only 7 or 8 years old, was releasing a terrifying demonic aura that was completely unimaginable to them. This devilish aura turned into a terrifying black wind, swirling towards Ling Xiao. Everyone was too familiar with this black wind. It was the same black wind from the Black Wind Canyon, but it seemed to be even stronger. Do you need something? Ling Xiao glanced at Xiao Budian indifferently and asked, You already know the answer. Xiao Budian's cold voice sounded. Within that thick devilish aura, there was a strong murderous aura. You can feign ignorance now, but in the treasure hunt, you'd better not run into me, or I'll kill you without mercy. As the word kill fell, the terrifying devilish aura actually squeezed the air around Ling Xiao, distorting it. Several people sitting near Ling Xiao were blown away. Fortunately, the demon wine sword appeared, protecting them. Ling Xiao looked at Xiao Budian indifferently, then suddenly chuckled. I understand. Last night, I killed a few annoying bedbugs and angered you, the king of bedbugs. However, can you kill me? Chapter 1890. Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of the 100-eyed demon lord. He wasn't afraid of the little guy either. As he saw it, there were only 3 people who posed the greatest threat to him in this competition: Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, and Lei Lai. At the very least, he couldn't think of a way to defeat them, no matter how he thought about it. Of course, that was only for now. The second match hadn't started yet. Once it was over, his strength might increase even more. Then, he might be able to defeat those 3. He wasn't afraid, but the crowd was still crying out in alarm. This Ling Xiao really knew how to make enemies. First, he'd angered Tianhai Tyranny and the Crown Prince Consort. Then, he'd provoked the 100-eyed demon lord. Now, even the little guy wanted to kill him. Could this guy still survive? They really didn't know where his guts came from. His cultivation was at most at the 13th level of the Yin-Yang realm, but his heart was really big. But they only knew that Ling Xiao was making enemies, not why Ling Xiao was making enemies. If he didn't make enemies with these people, he would either become their slave or be killed. Ling Xiao was very clear on which choice to choose. Can't kill you? Do you really think you're strong? The little guy said with a cold expression. Strong or not, that's not for you to say. I'll let you know soon enough. Ling Xiao glanced at the little guy and suddenly said, There seems to be an aura on your body that I'm very familiar with. Although I don't know who it is, I really hate it. But we have no enmity, so I won't kill indiscriminately. But now that you want to kill me, you've given me a reason to kill you. You're dead for sure. A killing intent, even more terrifying than the little guy's, erupted from Ling Xiao's body, turning into a bloody mist that surrounded the celestial devil sex stands. Kill! His killing intent had turned into a demon. You dare! The little guy shouted, but it was too late. The 4 celestial devil sect martial artists behind him had been killed by Ling Xiao right in front of his eyes. Why wouldn't I dare? Ling Xiao looked at the little guy with contempt. I dare to kill your people, but do you dare to kill mine? Right now. Xiao Budian's expression was unsettled. Of course. He knew that Ling Xiao was mocking him, but he really didn't dare to make a move. This was because he was not a match for the demonic liquor sword, nor was he a match for Hongqi. These 2 backers of Ling Xiao simply made him go crazy with jealousy. You'd better protect them during the treasure hunt. Otherwise, they're dead for sure. The little guy could only use this sentence to give himself a way out. In the end, you're just a coward. If you don't dare to make a move, then shut your mouth. Ling Xiao looked at Xiao Budian with disdain and mocked. Xiao Budian's face was ashen, but in the end he still shut his mouth. He really didn't dare to make a move. No matter what the reason was, this was the truth. You really don't know how to spell the word death. Not far away, a person in the crowd of the Jingyi school looked at Ling Xiao and mocked him. That person was the 5th son of the Jingyi school's 7 sons. He was also a friend of the 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong. Because Ling Xiao had offended Wulong, he naturally didn't like Ling Xiao. How could he not take advantage of this opportunity to mock him? Ling Xiao glanced at the 5th son indifferently and chuckled coldly. I've long heard that the 7 sons of the Jingyi school are all outstanding geniuses. But today I see that besides the 1st-ranked Feng Fei, the 3rd-ranked Zui Linglong, the 4th-ranked Jun Maching, and the 7th-ranked Jun Macho, they're all trash. Your 6th son has already been killed. Which piece of trash is next? He said several names in a row, but ignored the 2nd-ranked 100-eyed demon, Lord Wulong, the 5th son and the 6th son. Even a fool could tell who he was scolding. Ling Xiao's words made the 5th son and Wulong's expressions very ugly. In Black Wind Canyon, the 6th son was killed by Ling Xiao. The audience outside had all seen that scene. Although killing people in Black Wind Canyon was normal, and the rules were set, Ling Xiao naturally had a rift with the Jingyi school. But Ling Xiao didn't care about this, because he had already regarded the Jingyi school as an enemy back in the divine Phoenix continent. At that time, the Jingyi school had actually cooperated with Phoenix Cry Qishan to secretly deal with him. He didn't even know how he had offended the #1 sect of the White Tiger continent, so it was impossible for him to get along with the Jingyi school. If they became enemies, then so be it. He wasn't afraid at all. Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? The 10,000 Fiends graveyard isn't Black Wind Canyon. Don't think you can take any advantage. This old man will kill you soon. The 100-eyed demon, Lord Wu Long, stared at Ling Xiao and gnashed his teeth as he spoke. No matter how insignificant he thought Ling Xiao was, everyone now knew that Ling Xiao had beaten him twice in Black Wind Canyon. Twice he had almost killed him. He had also been cursed as the #1 coward in the world. If Ling Xiao didn't die, he wouldn't be able to wash away this infamy. Many people said that they wanted to kill me, but in the end they were the ones who died. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and ignored Wulong. It was better to have an enemy in the open than in the dark. That young man is so arrogant. He's only at the 13th level of the Yinyang realm. Ling Xiao didn't need to hide his cultivation now. Because his cultivation couldn't represent his true strength, it didn't matter if others knew. I'm afraid he won't live for long. Even if he survives, his ranking won't be good. Those people will definitely cause him all kinds of trouble in the second battle. In this way, he can only face the strong in the final battle. It's hopeless. Such thoughts represented the views of the majority of the people present. Of course, there were exceptions. For example, Sun Lingchan. They all think that it's your misfortune to have offended those people, but they don't know that it's their misfortune to have offended you. Sun Lingchan smiled as she approached Ling Xiao and said, "You seem to be stronger than yesterday. Even I don't have the confidence to win against you. Don't praise me. Aren't you the same?" Ling Xiao looked at Sun Lingchan. Compared to yesterday, this woman's strength had obviously improved greatly. He even suspected that among the 13 geniuses, some of them would give up their positions for her. You guys are chatting happily. Why don't I join in? It was Lu Lian. She didn't return to the Songjing Divine Palace with the Heavenly Empire's martial artists yesterday. Instead, she cultivated alone in the land of absolute thunders. Lu Lian, how do you feel? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. Not bad. However, I must obtain more valuable treasures in the second battle. Only then can I avoid you monsters in the final battle. Lu Lian smiled. I don't care. It's the same no matter who I meet. Anyway, I'm here for the first place this time. It's meaningless if I don't get first place. Ling Xiao shook his head. He really didn't have much thoughts about his opponents in the final battle. In a sense, he even hoped to meet the 13 top geniuses. This kind of battle would allow him to gain even more benefits. Chapter 1891. You lunatic. Who can compete with you? Sun Lingchan shook his head and smiled bitterly. It doesn't matter if I'm a lunatic or not. In short, everyone work hard in the second battle. Try to avoid the powerhouses as much as possible. At the very least, you'll get more benefits this way. Ling Xiao was crazy himself, but he would not force others to be crazy with him. As for the rest, it was better to try to get a ranking. Hence, avoiding those 13 top geniuses was a must. Otherwise, they might be eliminated in the first round. Long Qin, how is it? Do you have the confidence to enter the next battle? He looked at his most valued underling and asked. Blue Snow and Scarlet Moon's bloodline was actually not considered pure. The two of them had more than 90% dragon bloodline. However, Long Qin was a pure dragon. Hence, in terms of talent, Long Qin still had the advantage. If there was anyone around him who could keep following in his footsteps, it was probably only Long Qin. Long Qin, this brat, was just a little weaker than him from beginning to end. This degree was basically never pulled apart. Hee hee, big brother Ling, what about you? Long Chin asked back with a chuckle. Are you confident in getting top 20 or even top 10? Getting top 10 in the second battle isn't a problem. However, I don't have that wish. Anyway, no matter who I encounter in the third battle, it doesn't matter to me. Ling Xiao shrugged and said, What about you? Me. As long as I can pass the second battle and stand on the top stage of the Battle of Kings, it'll be enough. Then, Big Brother's nurturing of me won't be in vain. To be honest, Long Chin really could not use gratitude to express his gratitude to Ling Xiao. This was because Ling Xiao was like a second parent to him, a beacon of light that guided the way. Without Ling Xiao, he Long Chin would absolutely not be where he was today. That won't do. I don't have any requirements for others. But for you, if you can't get top 13 in the second battle, you don't have to participate in the final battle. Ling Xiao said solemnly. He was very clear about Long Chen's strength. Previously, before he obtained the War Dragon King's inheritance, his talent and comprehension were much higher than those 13 top geniuses. After obtaining the inheritance, it was only possible to become even stronger. The cultivation talent of the dragon race had long been proven in the immemorial era. The human king had even left behind Sai. Hee hee, since Big Brother has said so, I will do my best to fulfill your request. Long Chin grinned and said, But Big Brother, if I meet that Wu Long or the fifth son, should I help you eliminate them? You're not Wu Long's match for now, but you can kill the fifth son if you want to. You don't have to ask me for permission. You just have to walk down your own path. Ling Xiao nodded. All right. Just as Long Chin finished speaking, everyone wanted to continue chatting. Suddenly, the air in the sky trembled. Space was torn apart, and a huge vortex appeared. Lawless appeared again. Without a doubt, his appearance signified the start of the second treasure hunt. This caused everyone to become excited. The rules of the second round are very simple. Within 6 hours, the number of treasures obtained will be the highest. After that, all of you will be teleported to Thunderclap City, where you will be ranked based on your results. If the number of deaths in the second battle is lower, then the people at the back may be directly eliminated. Lawless said, also, don't listen to the rules of the final battle that some people said. They can't be taken seriously. It might have been like that in the past, but this time it will be different. However, I can tell you one thing. The higher the rank, the more advantageous it will be. This will not change. As soon as he said that, everyone was excited. In other words, the rumor about the first and last battle was not true. There was another set of rules. However, one thing was for sure. The higher the rank, the more advantageous it would be. This was no different from the rumor. Ling Xiao couldn't help but scratch his head. He originally wanted to get a lower rank and deliberately fight against the 13 top geniuses. However, it sounded like his idea couldn't be realized. In order to get a better result in the final battle, he could only try his best to get a higher rank. After all, he had the absolute advantage in treasure hunting. He had the Tai Chi eye after all. As for the rules of the final battle, he didn't care. After all, Lawless wouldn't lie. Otherwise, he would become a laughing stock. Therefore, it was definitely true that the higher the rank, the more advantageous it would be. Everyone else had the same idea. Without knowing the rules of the final battle, getting a higher rank was naturally the most advantageous choice. Therefore, everyone gritted their teeth and clenched their fists, eager to give it a try. Even if they didn't care about the methods, they had to get a higher rank. Today, there are 78 people participating in the competition. It can be seen that all of you are determined and courageous. However, the second round of the treasure hunt requires not only determination and courage, but also wisdom. Treasures don't depend on quantity, but how precious they are. Remember my words. Now, prepare to enter the Myriad Devil Graveyard. You have 10 minutes to hesitate. If you are ready, you may enter. If you are not, you may give up or you may continue preparing. If you have not entered the Myriad Devil Graveyard after 10 minutes, you will be considered to have forfeited. As soon as Lawless words fell, the 78 participants all rushed to the entrance of the Myriad Devil Graveyard. Unexpectedly, not a single one was willing to stay behind. After the test of the Purgatory Blood Battle, the remaining 78 participants weren't easy to deal with. No one was willing to admit defeat so easily. Although some people claimed to be afraid of 13 apex geniuses, they weren't necessarily afraid when they actually encountered them. After all, 13 apex geniuses was common saying. Almost every white tiger storm meet would give birth to a dark horse. 10 minutes begin, Lawless loudly announced. In an instant, several dozen figures entered the Myriad Devil Graveyard. There were only a few people left outside. After all, this was a treasure hunting battle. Whoever entered first had a chance of obtaining the treasure first. However, Ling Xiao wasn't in a hurry. He remained outside, opening his Taiji eye and looking at the Myriad Devil Graveyard. Since it was called a place even more terrifying than Black Wind Canyon, it meant that the Myriad Devil Graveyard wasn't simple. If he went in rashly, he would only be making things difficult for himself. This was in line with his character. While brave, there was also a hint of caution. No thousand-eyed winged insects. Ling Xiao noticed that the thousand-eyed winged insects that had appeared in the first battle were nowhere to be seen in the second battle. It seems that the Myriad Devil Graveyard is truly dangerous. Even the thousand-eyed winged insects would find it hard to survive. This was Ling Xiao's deduction. In fact, his deduction was spot on. Some people in the audience had also mentioned this point, which was why Lawless specifically explained it to them. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to explain it to these people. No matter what, these people had spent money to watch the competition. Their Black Tortoise Temple was a high and mighty existence. They had to consider public opinion. Chapter 1892. In the end, Ling Xiao stepped into the abyssal graveyard as well. There were no longer any competitors at the entrance. The spectators chose to leave Thunderclap City as well. When the time came, all of the martial artists inside would appear on the giant stage above the city. All they had to do was wait there. Who do you think will emerge as the best in the second round and obtain the highest ranking? Because there were no thousand-eyed flying insects, no one could see what was happening in the abyssal graveyard. They could only rely on chatter to fill the emptiness in their hearts. It has to be one of the top 13 geniuses. Someone said, after all, the top 13 geniuses would always be the most dazzling 13. Some said it had to be Feng Fei, the strongest genius of Genie School. Others said it would be Tianhai Tyranny, the crown prince of Tianhai Empire, who was unstoppable on the battlefield. Of course, there were also those who thought it would be Lei Lai. As a competitor from White Tiger Continent's oldest empire, Lei Lai shouldered the heavy burden of protecting its dignity. Moreover, he was the only one who hadn't lost to Feng Fei and Tianhai Tyranny. This was enough to put him on the same level as the first two geniuses. I heard that you can come out early in the second round. If you think you've obtained enough treasures, you can choose to leave the abyssal graveyard early. Or if there's danger and you think you'll die, you can come out early. Unless you die in the second round, there's no elimination rules. You'll only be eliminated in the final rankings. I heard that too. That's true. We'll find out soon enough whether it's true or not. Although many rumors might not be taken seriously, it didn't matter. The treasure hunt had already begun, so they'd soon find out whether the rumors were true or not. While the crowd was discussing outside, Ling Xiao had already stepped into the abyssal graveyard. The moment he stepped into the cemetery, Ling Xiao felt incomparably pleased. While others might find the devilish qi unbearable, it was like a nourishing breath to him, making him feel much better. Without hesitation, he dashed towards the location of the treasures as soon as he entered the abyssal graveyard. The value of the treasures in the myriad devil graveyard was determined by the Black Tortoise Temple. Therefore, Ling Xiao planned to take all the treasures he saw. Before entering the graveyard, he had locked onto the whereabouts of a treasure with his Tai Chi eye. There were no other ancient martial art practitioners here, but that did not mean that there was no danger. This was a swamp. The pitch-black swamp was filled with an unsettling aura. In the middle of the swamp was a blooming flower. Ling Xiao knew that this was the famous swamp beauty flower. The name sounded a little tacky, but it was very appropriate, because this flower could be used to refine a pill, regardless of whether it was a man or a woman. After consuming it, their skin would become smooth and delicate, and their appearance would become much younger. In the past, this kind of flower was the favorite of women. Regardless of their cultivation level, women's pursuit of beauty had never changed. Nowadays, some men have also started to pursue beauty. The aesthetics of the profound world was also quietly evolving. The swamp beauty flower gradually became a hot commodity. Ling Xiao naturally had to get his hands on it. He tore through the air and reached out to grab the swamp beauty flower. However, at this moment, several black shadows suddenly protruded from the swamp. These shadows were originally mud in the swamp, but after a while, they gradually transformed into human figures. These people actually looked 70% similar to Ling Xiao. As for their cultivation level, they were exactly the same, the peak of the 13th level of the Yin-Yang realm. I've long heard that heavenly demons are good at imitating humans. Now it seems that it's true. These should be swamp monsters condensed from the remnant souls of heavenly demons after their deaths. They can actually transform into existences with the same cultivation level as me. What a pity! Ling Xiao smiled disdainfully. Then, without using his inner strength, he directly punched out. The imperial heaven power circulated, and the green fist carried the ferocious, domineering aura of a king. The punch directly shattered the swamp mud men. The most terrifying thing was that the domineering aura of the imperial heaven power directly shattered the remnant souls of the heavenly demons in the swamp mud men. The swamp mud men could no longer recover. So what if they had the same cultivation level? Facing cultivators of the same cultivation level, Ling Xiao had never been at a disadvantage. In fact, he had a huge advantage every time. After killing a few swamp mud men, Ling Xiao grabbed the swamp beauty flower. Unexpectedly at this moment, a ball of charming light suddenly flashed under the swamp. Then, not knowing if it was an illusion or real, Ling Xiao actually saw another version of himself. Compared to the swamp mud men from before, which only had a form and no spirit, this human figure was almost a complete copy of Ling Xiao. I seem to have encountered something like this before. This is the most common replication formation in the mystic realm. The formation itself was not powerful, but as long as a cultivator stepped into it, it would automatically form another shadow that was exactly the same as himself. It seems that this graveyard of 10,000 demons has also been modified by someone. I just don't know if it was done by the human king or the Black Tortoise Temple. Ling Xiao frowned, then laughed. No matter who it is, no matter what kind of data I have, there's one thing that can't be replicated. Naturally, he was talking about the Sky Tyrant Martial Spirit. It was an upgraded version of the Mountain River Martial Spirit that he had comprehended. It was more unique than the Human King's Mountain River Martial Spirit. However, this is enough. Even if the Sky Tyrant Martial Spirit is not replicated, this replica can become the best research object for the Black Tortoise Temple. I can't let it live. Ling Xiao was not worried about how powerful the replica in front of him was. After all, replicated things were just mechanical things. The most terrifying thing about Ling Xiao was his wisdom in battle. This was something that could not be replicated no matter what. Coupled with the advantage of the Sky Tyrant Martial Spirit, it was easy for him to deal with this replica. He was now worried that the Black Tortoise Temple would use this replica to study him. That would not be fun. Let's give it a try first. Ling Xiao put the swamp beauty flower into his storage ring. The treasures obtained from the graveyard of 10,000 demons all had the aura of the graveyard of 10,000 demons, so they could not be faked. Even if there were other treasures in the storage ring, they would not be mixed together. Otherwise, the test would be a mess. Because there was no thousand-eyed winged insect, Ling Xiao immediately released the Sky Tyrant martial spirit. What was different from before was that other than the terrifying Sky Tyrant universe behind him, there was also a black shadow floating in the universe. He could not see the appearance clearly, but he was sure that it was a human figure. What was certain was that this human figure was the one that had helped Ling Xiao intimidate the Night Devil King and the First Heaven Devil King. Perhaps it could be said that it was the origin of the Sky Tyrant martial spirit. Chapter 1893. When Ling Xiao displayed the Sky Tyrant martial soul, the replica did not react at all. Ling Xiao could not help but smile. As expected, the Sky Tyrant martial soul is too special. Even with this kind of array, it can't be replicated. He waved his fist and punched the replica. Just as he was about to kill it, he suddenly stopped. What's the point of killing it? Why don't I toy with the Black Tortoise Temple? Ling Xiao was almost certain that the replicas were used by the Black Tortoise Temple to obtain data. Even if he killed it, it might not be completely destroyed. Even if the other party could not replicate his Sky Tyrant martial soul, he still did not want to expose too much. Anyway, he had a way. 9 demons divine art, Yin Yang Demon King. Ling Xiao smiled, and his body began to change rapidly. Not only his appearance, but even his aura and martial arts completely changed. As his body changed, the replica began to change as well. Hee, this will do. Ling Xiao smiled and punched the replica to death. Similar to Ling Xiao, there were other martial artists participating in the competition. However, everyone's choice was different. Only a few people noticed the Black Tortoise Temple's conspiracy and made some ingenious plans. Just like Ling Xiao, although the methods were different, they had the same effect. The rest of the participants struggled to fight the replicas. Ling Xiao now had a feeling. The most prosperous white tiger meat on the White Tiger continent was more like an assessment for the Black Tortoise Temple to select disciples. The first round tested talent and comprehension. The second round tested wisdom and the details of the participants at the same time. The third round was a real ranking battle. Although he had no interest in joining the Black Tortoise Temple, he could not help but admire the 3 rounds of assessment of the Black Tortoise Temple. In the first round, one could pass by relying on talent and comprehension. In the second round, one had to rely on wisdom. Pure combat power might not be effective. Very well, then I, Ling Xiao, will compete with the Black Tortoise Temple in a battle of wits and strengthen myself under your rules. Ling Xiao smiled and turned to leave, heading to the location of the next treasure. Sure enough, good things are hard to get. The second treasure was a magic weapon. It was a fine-grade spirit tool saber. Although he couldn't use it, he could sell it or give it away. The key was that the treasured saber was a fine-grade spiritual tool, so he reckoned that he would gain a lot of points. In this second round, he might really be able to get into the top few places. That said, in order to obtain the fine-grade spiritual saber, he had to pass through the terrifying underworld underground river. Corpses were everywhere in the Yellow Springs underground river. These skeletons were yellowed, and their skin and flesh had long been corroded. Within the Yellow Springs, terrifying black shadows appeared one after another, exuding a powerful consciousness and fighting spirit. Yiksha's ghost shadow at the 14th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Although they are not real heavenly demon Yikshas, these ghostly shadows are not easy to deal with. Furthermore, there are so many of them. Ling Xiao muttered to himself, but there was no sign of embarrassment on his face. This was because the Yellow Springs underground river might be difficult for others, but it wasn't difficult for him at all. The corners of his mouth curled into a confident smile, and then he stepped into the Yellow Springs underground river. The fine-grade spiritual tool saber was at the bottom of the river. It was difficult to get it without entering the water. The moment he stepped into the river, a bone-piercing chill spread throughout his body. A terrifying evil aura entered his body, trying to take control of his body and corrode his skin and flesh. It's just the Yellow Springs evil chi and yiksha ghostly shadows. Do you think you can hurt me? Ling Xiao sneered and instantly entered the primordial heavenly demon incarnation. The primordial heavenly demon incarnation released its fighting spirit, and the yiksha ghostly shadows trembled as if they had met their superior. Ling Xiao sneered, and the demonic chi of the primordial heavenly demon incarnation began to circulate. The demonic chi in the Yellow Springs underground river surged into his body and molded his body. At this moment, Ling Xiao wasn't in a hurry to get the saber. He was more interested in the enormous energy hidden in the Yellow Springs underground river. Cultivating here was very beneficial for him to condense the primordial heavenly demon martial soul. At the same time, it could greatly increase his cultivation. He might even break through to the 14th level of the yin-yang realm. He didn't care about the ranking anyway, as long as he wasn't eliminated. Devour! Ling Xiao roared coldly, and the primordial heavenly demon incarnation opened its mouth and sucked. The energy in the Yellow Springs underground river surged into the huge mouth and started to be converted, refined, and integrated into his body and meridians. How dare you! A terrifying voice came from the Yellow Springs underground river. Yiksha, ghostly shadow king. Ling Xiao narrowed his eyes and looked at the huge body. It was one size bigger than all the yiksha ghostly shadows, and its strength was estimated to be around the 16th level of the yin-yang realm. Under the yiksha ghostly shadow king's lead, the frightened yikshas regained their courage and pounced on Ling Xiao in an attempt to kill him. They wouldn't allow him to continue devouring the energy in the Yellow Springs underground river. Kill! Ling Xiao smiled coldly. The yiksha ghostly shadow king was at the 16th level of the yin-yang realm, and there was nothing to be afraid of in front of him. After all, it was just a ghostly shadow. Moreover, it was restrained by his heavenly demon battle intent, and it was even weaker than an ordinary 16th level yin-yang realm martial artist. It couldn't be compared to a genius 16th level yin-yang realm martial artist. The primordial heavenly demon incarnation swung its claws. Heavenly demon claw. Boom boom. The yiksha ghostly shadow king tried its best to block the heavenly demon claw, but it was still flattened by the huge claw. Dragon talisman held dragon fire. Then a blood soul talisman flew out from above Ling Xiao's head and spat out purplish-black flames. It burned the yiksha ghostly shadow king to ashes. 18 hell talisman, hell of tongue ripping. Then another blood soul talisman flew out. Countless ghostly hands reached out and grabbed the rest of the yiksha ghostly shadows. The dragon talisman was of the dragon attribute, and it was destined to grow into the most powerful Dragon Clan Blood Soul Talisman. The 18 Hell Talisman was refined by Ling Xiao based on the yin-yang realm's 18 levels of hell. It was destined to become the most evil and terrifying Dark Blood Soul Talisman in the world. The yiksha ghostly shadows were extremely useful in increasing the 18 Hell Talisman's power. The terrified yiksha ghostly shadows began to flee in all directions. However, the 18 Hell Talisman grew in the wind and instantly covered the entire Yellow Springs underground river. The yiksha ghostly shadows that were supposed to be guarding the exquisite spirit saber became Ling Xiao's nourishment. He could feel that the bottleneck of his cultivation had been lifted again. It was clear that he was about to break through. I'll continue to cultivate in peace. As for the treasures, whoever wants to take them can take them. Ling Xiao had two choices now. He could either continue to search for treasures or stay here to cultivate and integrate the entire Yellow Springs underground river into his body. However, he made the right choice. Chapter 1894. If he chose to continue searching for treasures, he might be able to get a higher ranking, but it was meaningless. If he chose to stay and cultivate, his cultivation level would definitely break through. Not only that, but the primordial heavenly demon would also become stronger. His choice was decisive and simple. He really did not care about the ranking. As long as he could get a few more treasures after he finished cultivating, it would be fine. Since he had made his choice, he did not care about anything else. At the same time, the other martial artists were fighting fiercely in the fierce competition. Mou and Zhu Shaozong's abilities were limited after all. In order to save their lives, they were forced to withdraw from the assessment. They appeared in Thunder City's arena. However, they were not disqualified. Lawless only asked them to rest there. As for whether they were disqualified or not, it would depend on the final ranking. There were many other martial artists who were disqualified, like the two of them, due to the conditions set in the second battle. The number of deaths was greatly reduced. However, there were still deaths. Some people were too confident in themselves. They could have chosen to escape, but they insisted on fighting and were killed in the end. They were either killed by other martial artists or by the monsters guarding the treasures. Of course, there were not many people like that. So far, there were only 2. There were a total of 26 people who were disqualified, like Mou and Zhu Shaozong. Including the 2 who died, there were 28 people who had no hope of being in the top 10. 2 hours passed. For hours past, Ling Xiao still did not open his eyes. However, the entire underworld underground river was almost dried up. The Yiksha shadows in the underground river had all disappeared. As for the fine-grade spirit treasure saber, it was still stuck at the bottom of the river. After such a long time, no one came to disturb Ling Xiao. He did not know if he was lucky or unlucky. Actually, he did not know that many martial artists had passed by this place. However, they did not dare to stop after seeing such a terrifying scene. If he was lucky, it would be that none of the 13 top geniuses had been here. When there was an hour left before the end of the second battle, Ling Xiao finally opened his eyes. The entire underworld underground river had dried up. Ling Xiao's cultivation level had finally broken through to the 14th level of Yin Yang realm. Cultivation level was not the most important thing. His primordial heavenly demon battle intent had finally entered the second stage, mastery. It was the same as the proficiency of a martial skill. His battle had also improved, but in addition to initial success, expert, great success, perfection, and transcendent, there were also master and grandmaster levels. The sword intent was the same. This was also the reason why some people had lower bonuses, while others had higher bonuses despite having the same sword intent. At every stage, there was a 100% improvement. Previously, during the primordial heavenly demon battle, he had achieved small accomplishment of 100%. Now he was at master of 10%. As long as it reached the grandmaster level, it would be possible to transform it into a martial soul. Furthermore, it would be a high-grade martial soul that could be tempered by lightning directly. If it was successfully tempered, it could be promoted to a divine soul. However, the divine soul was the legendary level that a martial soul could reach. Even the sovereign personages of the past had not been able to do so. Therefore, it was still a legend. There's still an hour left. I wonder how many people are left in the myriad demon necropolis? Ling Xiao looked at the time and decided to walk around. As his cultivation and strength increased, his ability to protect himself also became stronger. Even if he ran into Feng Fei, Tianhai Tyranny, or Lei Lai, it didn't matter. Even if he wasn't a match for them right now, he wouldn't lose so easily. Just as Ling Xiao stepped out of the dried-up Yellow Springs underground river and prepared to head for the next treasure location, a giant fissure appeared in the depths of the myriad demon necropolis. Terrifying energy spewed out from the black fissure as if an upside-down eye was slowly opening. In the middle of the fissure was a terrifying energy vortex. The moment the whirlpool appeared, a large amount of energy seemed to be swept away and rushed into the whirlpool. For a moment, both the participants in the myriad demon graveyard and the martial artists outside were dumbfounded. What's going on? Ling Xiao's taiji eye had been open this entire time. The terrifying black vortex in the distance gave him a great sense of pressure. It was as if it wanted to tear his gaze apart. Plain vortex? Spatial fissure? Ling Xiao had heard of such things before, but he'd only seen them once before. That was when he met the Night Devil King in the underground world. That spatial fissure was connected to the world of the celestial devils. Then, where did the spatial fissure in the myriad demon necropolis lead to? Let's go take a look. Not only was Ling Xiao curious, but he was also extremely interested in the spatial fissure that had suddenly appeared. He absolutely believed that the spatial fissure hadn't appeared for no reason. There had to be something good inside. In fact, it wasn't just Ling Xiao. In fact, all the competitors still in the myriad demon necropolis had either seen or felt the spatial fissure's existence and were all rushing in its direction. To a certain extent, human curiosity was really very similar. At this time, outside the myriad demon necropolis, Lawless and the other 5 referees were also shocked. Venerable Lawless, this fissure shouldn't be part of the test, right? The vice sect master of the righteous sect asked. Lawless nodded and said, "Rumor has it that a similar fissure appeared 1,000 years ago, but it disappeared in a short period of time. That fissure seems to be a battlefield. 1,000 years ago, the fissure spat out extremely precious treasures. There was even a divine grade spirit artifact. A divine grade spirit artifact." Hearing these words, everyone was dumbfounded. On the White Tiger continent, being able to obtain a rare grade spirit artifact was already quite amazing. One had to know that a rare grade spirit artifact was used by a rebirth realm cultivator. Even a yin-yang realm cultivator couldn't display its true power. Common grade, fine grade, rare grade, immortal grade, divine grade. Among the spirit artifacts, divine grade was the highest. If such a thing really appeared, the entire White Tiger continent would be shaken. Then why haven't you reported to the Black Tortoise Temple and immediately stopped the treasure hunt? That spatial fissure is more important than the white tiger meat. The Tianhai Empire's imperial preceptor said loudly. Impossible. Do you think we don't want to? Do you think we casually arranged this treasure hunt? These are the rules and restrictions left behind by the human monarch. Once the treasure hunt begins, no one will be able to enter the myriad demon necropolis. Lawless smiled bitterly and said, "Unless someone's strength is comparable to the human monarch. Don't tell me we have to place our hopes of obtaining the divine grade spirit artifact on the participating cultivators? Although they are all geniuses and elites, their cultivation is still too weak." Everyone was speechless. That's the only thing we can do now. If someone brings out a divine grade spirit artifact, except for the first one, which must belong to the Black Tortoise Temple, the rest will belong to whoever brings them out. How about it? Chapter 1895. Lawless suggested that the first divine grade spirit artifact should belong to the Black Tortoise Temple, while the rest would go to whichever force brought it out. The others had no objections, because this was the best arrangement. After all, the Black Tortoise Temple was the most powerful force on the White Tiger continent, so they had the right to do so. However, they couldn't contact the martial artists in the Myriad Demon Graveyard, so it would depend on luck as to who would get the divine grade spirit artifact. There are 28 people left in the Myriad Demon Graveyard, and they are evenly distributed. Any side has a chance. Lawless looked at the huge and terrifying crack in the myriad demon graveyard, but he couldn't see the movements of the martial artists inside. At this time, he could only wait anxiously. The black spatial crack was huge, as if a terrifying hole had been torn in the earth. The black vortex in the middle was like a bottomless pit, making people afraid to approach it. However, the remaining 28 people in the myriad demon graveyard had all rushed over. It seemed that curiosity could easily drive a person to do something. There's really a lot of people. Ling Xiao looked around. Even though the number of contestants had decreased by a lot, there were still 28 people. This number wasn't considered small. In addition to the participants, there were also many black, ghostly figures nearby. These ghostly figures were probably condensed from the remnant souls of the heavenly demons, and were somewhat similar to the Yuksha ghostly figure. They had probably come here because they were attracted by the spatial crack. Ling Xiao lowered his head to take a look. The size of this black spatial crack was actually dozens of miles long and dozens of miles wide. Its surface area could not be considered small. The black vortex was filled with extremely pure dark power, as well as a heart-palpitating demonic aura. "Master, you're here too?" A person appeared beside Ling Xiao. It was Cold Plum. Ling Xiao was surprised that she hadn't left the second round yet. Along with Cold Plum were Long Chen, Dan Feng, Sun Lingchan, and Lulian. "Where are the others?" Ling Xiao asked. "They should have been teleported out. Anyway, I saw Feng Minglian encounter the 5th disciple of the Genie School. In order to save her life, she had to leave. She probably didn't get a single treasure." Long Chen said unhappily, "It's the same for Ji Liu. She encountered Wulong. If I didn't help her, she would have been in danger. She had no choice but to leave." Sun Lingchan sighed and said, "The Heavenly Wolf young master wants to snatch Mou and Zhu Xiaocong's treasures." Those two also withdrew. Dan Feng answered, "A wise decision. Did no one see Blue Snow and Scarlet Moon?" Ling Xiao asked. "Master, I saw it. The two of them were being chased by the Crown Princess." Fortunately, Jun Macho of the Jingyi School helped them escape. Cold Plum replied, "The Crown Princess, Wulong, the 5th Prince, and even the Heavenly Wolf, young master." "Very good, very good." For Ling Xiao, although it was a pity that his friends were forced to withdraw, as long as they were not dead, he could accept it. After all, as his cultivation continued to increase, the enemies he would encounter in the future would also be stronger. Among friends, there would always be people who would fall behind. He would not abandon his friends, but he would not allow them to take risks easily. Otherwise, why would he conquer this country? Wasn't it to let his people have a good home? "Master, look. Something seems to be spurting out from the vortex." At this moment, Cold Plum suddenly shouted and pointed at the black vortex. Indeed, a cold light flew out from the vortex. It was so fast that it was almost impossible to see it with the naked eye. However, after a while, its speed gradually decreased, and many martial artists saw what it looked like. It was a sword, a pitch-black demonic sword. Its terrifying power instantly split open a tomb near the crack. This powerful energy undulation made everyone involuntarily startled. A treasure-grade spiritual weapon. It's actually a treasure-grade spiritual weapon. That's mine. Precious things could always arouse people's greed. A divine-grade demon sword was enough to make most of the martial artists present go crazy. At that moment, countless shadows rushed out, including the martial artists and the heavenly demon ghost shadows. The originally peaceful area around the crack was instantly plunged into chaos. "Don't fight yet. Let's see the situation first." Ling Xiao, Long Chen, Dan Feng, Cold Plum, Lu Lian, and Sun Lingchan didn't move. But the others didn't have so many misgivings. A treasure-grade spiritual weapon was a treasure that only rebirth realm martial artists could use to their fullest potential. For Yin Yang realm martial artists, it was an absolute treasure. All of you scram. This is mine. Amidst his furious roar, the heavenly thunder tiger Lei Lai's entire body released an astonishing power of thunder and lightning. The warriors surrounding him and pouncing towards the black long sword were all delayed in their movements, including Tian Hai Tyranny and Feng Fei. Of course, that was because those two weren't very interested in the black sword. They didn't want to risk their lives against him. Otherwise, he might not be able to get the sword. Ha ha ha. Good sword, truly a good sword. With this item, I should be ranked first in this treasure hunt, right? Lei Lai was still rejoicing when something suddenly shot out from within. Everyone looked and saw that it was another weapon. However, it wasn't a sword, but a strange weapon. It was a guzheng. A strange killing intent emanated from the guzheng. As the music rang out, the surrounding sand and stones flew into the air. Trees broke apart, creating a shocking scene. It's actually an immortal grade spiritual weapon. It's even stronger than the previous one. Seeing this, the crowd fought even harder. But Feng Fei had helped Zui Linglong steal it. Everyone, this guzheng treasure isn't easy for you to use. Why don't you give it to my junior sister? Feng Fei's smile was indifferent, but everyone could sense the terrifying killing intent hidden behind it. This was definitely a woman who killed without batting an eye. But her killing intent wouldn't be easily exposed. It was hidden very well. No one was willing to fight with her, including Tian Hai Tyranny. In any case, it looked like the crack wasn't closing up yet, so there was still a chance. As expected, the next crack in space was like a treasure trove that kept spitting out treasures. Every once in a while, it would spit out a treasure. Of these treasures, there were treasure-grade spiritual weapons, immortal-grade spiritual weapons, and even the worst were high-quality spiritual weapons. Basically, all 13 of the top geniuses had a spiritual weapon each. Of course, the best 3 were still taken by Feng Fei, Zui Linglong, and Tian Hai Tyranny. Ling Xiao didn't move from beginning to end. He was waiting. He believed that there was something even stronger than the treasure grade and immortal grade spiritual qi in this crack. Moreover, he noticed a pattern. Every time a spiritual weapon spat out, it would shoot in the direction of those who didn't get it. Chapter 1896. It's coming again. Someone suddenly cried out in alarm. This fluctuation, heavens, it's fiercer than any of the previous ones. Could it be a divine grade spirit artifact? Whoosh! As expected, another item flew out. What flew out was a colored glaze armor. This was a defensive treasure, and its value was twice that of an offensive treasure. After all, a defensive treasure could save one's life at a critical moment. The colored glass armor could release a colored glass light that covered a martial artist's entire body. It was much stronger than defensive elemental energy. Even if a yin-yang realm martial artist couldn't activate its effects, it still had powerful defensive properties. This was different from offensive treasures. Thus, the appearance of the colored glass armor attracted the attention of many martial artists. All of you scram for this crown prince. This colored glass armor is mine. Although Tian Hai Tyranny was strong, they still coveted the colored glass armor. My apologies, but I want this colored glass armor. Feng Fei moved at the same time. She had no reason to let go of such a treasure. Only the Heavenly Devil Sect is worthy of such a treasure. Xiao Budian pounced as well. In that instant, 13 peak geniuses pounced at the colored glass armor, none of them willing to give up. However, the moment the 13 people approached the colored glaze armor released a colored glaze light, and the 13 people were all sent flying. Blood trickled from the corners of their mouths. A divine grade spirit artifact was indeed a divine grade spirit artifact. Its power was simply terrifying. After the colored glaze armor sent everyone flying, it actually shot straight towards Ling Xiao. Of the 28 people, everyone else had taken the treasures inside. The only difference was the quality of their treasures. Only Ling Xiao hadn't made a move. Thus, the colored glass armor flew straight for him and covered his body. He couldn't even break free. Ling Xiao, hand it over or else you'll die today. This time, Ling Xiao became the target of public criticism. All 13 peak geniuses charged at him. If you make a move, I'll leave immediately. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. What was he afraid of? Although he couldn't fight all 13 of them at once, he could choose to withdraw. To be able to obtain such a top-notch defensive treasure in the second battle, he was absolutely satisfied. Besides, the treasure hunt was about to end. Even if they left now, they wouldn't lose much. Master, the spatial rift seems to be closing. At this moment, Cold Plum reminded him in a low voice. I can feel that there's something good in that crack. Wait outside, I'll go in and take a look. Ling Xiao was bold. Furthermore, he had already used the Taiji eye to observe. As long as he came out before the crack closed, he wouldn't be in too much danger. Therefore, he changed his mind about retreating in an instant. After dodging the sneak attack of the 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong, he plunged straight into the whirlpool. Everyone was dumbfounded. Junior sister, since that whirlpool is able to spit out so many magic treasures, it must be a treasure trove. Could it be that we're just going to watch that kid take all the treasures? The 100-eyed demon Lord Wulong's eyes turned red as he shouted at Feng Fei. So speaking, he ignored the danger and chased after him. The pitch-black whirlpool swallowed him whole. No one knew whether he was dead or alive, so many people began to hesitate. I'll be going first. Feng Fei followed Wulong into the whirlpool. Meanwhile, Tyranny of the Celestial Sea, the Crown Prince Consort, Zui Linglong, and the rest all entered one by one. Of the 13 top geniuses, only the Heavenly Wolf Gentleman, the Silver Wolf Princess, Xiao Budian, and Lei Lai didn't enter. Perhaps they were cautious, or perhaps they were timid. In any case, they wouldn't risk stepping into such a deep, unknown territory. A bunch of idiots. Your greed will make you die a tragic death sooner or later, Xiao Budian cursed. The little guy cursed and suddenly looked towards Sun Lingchan and the others. Since Ling Xiao had left, he naturally wanted to vent his anger on them. The treasure hunt's about to end. Let's withdraw as well, lest we catch that guy's eye. Sun Lingchan had already gotten most of the treasures. With the second battle ending, there was less than 15 minutes left. She didn't want to take any risks. Afterwards, she called for the martial artists who were friends with Ling Xiao to leave together. The rest of the people did as she said. Only Cold Plum plunged headfirst into the whirlpool. Ling Xiao had always said that in this world, even if the woman he loved the most would betray him, Lung Mei would not. That was because Cold Plum's loyalty was engraved in her bones. In the end, more than 10 of the 28 people entered the black whirlpool. This was a gamble with their lives. If they lost, they'd lose their little lives. But if they won, they'd reap great rewards. By now, Ling Xiao had already stepped into the black whirlpool. It looked more like a tunnel protected by black energy that led to the depths of the spatial rift. According to ancient records, the reason why spatial cracks would appear was because a certain plane had exploded, and then the spatial fragments collided with the profound world and embedded themselves, forming such cracks. Some rifts were long-lasting and became a special space in the mystic world. Some would shatter after a period of time due to the instability of the energy. Of course, there was also a special kind of spatial rift that appeared periodically. Every once in a while, it would appear in the mystic world. The spatial rift in front of Ling Xiao was such a case. Passing through the pitch-black tunnel, Ling Xiao finally saw the truth of this space. This was a terrifying graveyard. Or rather, it was a tragic battlefield. There were no longer any survivors on the battlefield. What was left behind were huge skeletons. These skeletons were similar to the human figures in the mystic world, but much larger. The shortest one was 4 or 5 meters tall. Huge, rusty weapons were inserted into the ground. There were also countless collapsed war chariots. The entire sky and earth were blood-red, like purgatory. It was very uncomfortable. Even the air was filled with the thick smell of blood. It seems that besides the mystic world, other planes also have wars. It's basically impossible for such a tragic battlefield to form without hundreds of thousands of people fighting. As Ling Xiao watched, he made an analysis in surprise. The magic weapons that flew out before had all absorbed the smell of blood on the battlefield and flew out after gaining spirituality. Presumably, no spirit weapon was willing to be sealed in this fragmented space that was gradually decaying. As Ling Xiao walked, he released the scarlet blood sword and began to madly absorb the smell of blood on the battlefield. This smell of blood might be extremely unpleasant to others, and it would make them feel very uncomfortable. But for him, it was a very good tonic. At the very least, it could make his scarlet blood sword and blood sun sword stronger. After walking a few steps, Ling Xiao found that the types of skeletons gradually increased. Chapter 1897. In addition to the huge human skeletons, there were also some strange humans with bones on their backs that looked like wing bones. There were also huge beast skeletons. The entire battlefield was very chaotic. However, it was basically confirmed that it was a battle between huge humans and winged humans. No one knew who won or lost, but this battle was really tragic. There were so many skeletons left behind. It looked like there were hundreds of thousands or even millions. Ling Xiao walked on the road, and there was always the sound of bones being crushed under his feet. This made him feel a little strange. On another battlefield, Cold Plum walked forward cautiously. She came in to look for Ling Xiao, but as soon as she entered, she was blown away by a gust of wind and lost sight of Ling Xiao's shadow. "What's that sound?" Cold Plum was very confused. After stepping into this spatial crack, a strange sound suddenly sounded in her mind. This sound was clearly speaking, but she couldn't understand it because it wasn't any language in the mystic world. However, this sound seemed to be guiding her forward, causing her body to involuntarily rush in a direction. Ha 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 ha. Looks like this daddy's luck isn't bad. I actually met Ling Xiao's woman. Suddenly, there was a burst of laughter. The 100-eyed demon lord, Wulong, appeared in front of Cold Plum. However, Cold Plum didn't pay attention to him at all. There was a strange black light in her cold eyes, causing Wulong's heart to tremble. Damn it! Why am I afraid of her? The 100-eyed demon lord, Wulong, felt that this was simply a disgrace. He suddenly jumped up and charged toward Cold Plum. Unexpectedly, Cold Plum didn't slow down and continued to rush forward. She didn't make a move, but her body was wrapped in a layer of pitch-black light. She directly crashed into the 100-eyed demon lord, Wulong Boom. With this collision, the 100-eyed demon lord, Wulong, immediately spat out blood and retreated. How is this possible? Wulong was terrified. If he had been beaten to the point of vomiting blood by Ling Xiao, he would feel a little better. But now he had been beaten to the point of vomiting blood by a maidservant by Ling Xiao's side. How could he accept this? This was simply a great humiliation. When he took a closer look, he found that Cold Plum was wrapped in pitch-black energy, as if she was being protected by some kind of power. So that's how it is. Could it be that this woman is going to have some good luck? Wulong's face was gloomy and uncertain. Just as he was thinking about whether or not he should give chase, a black gust of wind suddenly came from the sky. Without even looking, he threw a punch at him. However, just as the two energies were about to collide, Wulong's expression changed drastically. The most formidable aspect of the strong was that they could clearly see danger. In that instant, Wulong made a smart choice and threw out a magic treasure that he had just obtained. The magic treasure that blocked the black wind was instantly corroded. Wu Long took advantage of this precious moment to teleport out. As long as the spatial rift did not close, the teleportation ability would not disappear. Unfortunately, he originally wanted to get more benefits. Now, not only did he not get any benefits, but he also had to leave early. There were still 13 minutes left before the end of the treasure hunt. Ling Xiao did not know that Cold Plum was looking for him. He was the first to arrive at the spatial rift. In the blink of an eye, he had already traveled more than 10 miles, and no one had caught up to him. There were more and more strange skeletons that he saw. The most shocking thing was that he found thousands of skeletons of rebirth state experts in a small valley. Some of them were also tall giants. Some of them were humans with wings. Divine-grade spiritual weapon. Ling Xiao's eyes were sharp. He instantly found a pitch-black sword in the chest of one of the giant skeletons. This black sword was actually a divine-grade spiritual weapon. Moreover, it was a divine-grade spiritual weapon that only high-ranking rebirth state experts were qualified to possess. He dashed over, and with a wave of his hand, the black sword was caught in his hand. After so many years, the divine-grade spiritual weapon had absorbed a large amount of blood aura. It was no longer as effective as it used to be. The moment he grabbed it, the sword instantly shattered. What a pity! A divine-grade spiritual weapon has turned into trash. It seems that not all magic weapons are suitable for blood aura. Ling Xiao shook his head and was slightly disappointed. He originally thought that he could get another divine-grade spiritual weapon. Who knew that it would turn out to be a delusion? Continue to search. Maybe there are even better magic weapons that have survived. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao dashed forward. However, at this moment the ground suddenly shook. On the ground, a giant skeleton that was about 10 meters tall stood up shakily. Roar! A terrifying and shocking roar exploded from its mouth. Then the giant skeleton actually swung its fist at Ling Xiao. Its aura was rather terrifying. Could it be that I pulled out the black sword just now, so the skeleton revived? Ling Xiao was puzzled. He did not understand why only the skeleton here could revive after seeing so many skeletons. However, there was not much time for him to let his imagination run wild. The enemy in front of him was a high-level rebirth state expert when he was alive. If he was alive, he would probably be able to crush Ling Xiao into pieces with a pinky finger. Even if he was only a skeleton now, he would definitely not be easy to deal with. Mystic world body, flaming godly phoenix. Fire was the nemesis of all immortal things. Therefore, Ling Xiao transformed into a flaming godly phoenix and turned into a fierce flame that attacked the giant skeleton. The flame directly penetrated the skeleton, causing the giant skeleton to burst into flames. With a crackling sound, it finally fell apart and fell to the ground one by one. It did not shatter or burn. Instead, it glowed with a golden light. Good heavens! As expected of the skeleton of a rebirth state expert, this skeleton can be considered a magic weapon. It just so happens that my skeleton general's body is not strong enough. Why don't I use it to strengthen it? Thinking of this, Ling Xiao immediately opened the door of the tomb of the god of sin and threw the scattered bones inside. The skeleton general had its own intelligence. He would make his own decisions on how to strengthen his body. There was no need for Ling Xiao to interfere. He only needed to provide the materials. Although the skeleton was very powerful when he was alive, it was only because he had a murderous aura after death. Therefore, it was normal for Ling Xiao to kill him. Ling Xiao was thinking about whether there were any other skeletons that suddenly revived. He had to be careful when he suddenly saw a golden object falling from the sky. Reincarnation seed. Ling Xiao grabbed the golden seed in his hand. He could not hide his excitement. Every rebirth state expert would produce a reincarnation seed in their body. This was also the key to maintaining the rebirth state expert's body. If the reincarnation seed was lost, The expert who entered the rebirth state would lose all their memories and abilities. This was not something that any expert would want to encounter. Of course, Ling Xiao was not particularly clear about this. He had only vaguely heard some rumors. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.